TV brings the world of motorsports into your home with over 100 live race series such as MotoGP, IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, Extreme E, World Superbike, and the newly launched all-electric E1 series. From 2 wheels to 4, from land to sea, your destination is Rev TV.
After a vote to see where things would stand, it's time for the drivers to decide where the championship stands. It's time for Blazing Pedals and its ARCA Series. And tonight, Green Flag TV has all the coverage from Homestead, Miami Speedway here on iRacing. Good evening, everyone. I'm Justin Prince. Alongside me in the booth tonight, Derek Watson. Also be joined in the booth for this evening, for parts of the night at least, by Richard Regan Jr. Dustin Owens is our producer for this evening's tilt here from Homestead. Tonight, we race for a championship, Derek. A chance to try and get glory. A chance to be able to pick up a $100 payday if you're the champion. And for this field, it culminates a busy season, what will in the end be 32 races we've seen in 2025.
A long, grueling schedule began many months ago, back in the months of February and March when this racing league began. All concludes here at Homestead. Stage racing still exists tonight, JP. 35 and 70 are the lap counts for the stages. So lots of racing ahead in this 175 lap race to determine who ultimately is your champion.
And who ultimately will be the one to celebrate in the very end, absolutely. Chris Carroll, Cody Gibson, Hunter Lagoons, Dalton Kilroe are your 4 drivers tonight who will have a chance to battle for the championship. Remember, the top 4 all are a part of a prize pool when it comes to this season. $100 for the champion, $50 for whoever's second amongst the championship 4. Third place gets $30, fourth gets $20. As well, the top 3 also get an additional $100 prize pool. That's what wants that top 3 here tonight for the race itself. So a lot to race for, and all of these drivers have had their different strengths and weaknesses here, Derek. Some have been the more consistent that you've seen with Lagoons. Others have been able to rip off wins like Carroll and Kilroe.
Well, I think for Kilroe specifically, man, isn't his advantage has been the fuel saving all season? That's got to be what's in his mindset. And if I'm Dalton Kilroe, I would think his hope has to be, JP, that this thing just goes as green as humanly possible, because fuel saving has been his game.
Qualifying is underway. Dalton Kilroe starting off by setting qualifying times in the 32.5s. He's already completed his group section. William Bruden and Brian Dees, the only other drivers on track so far. Hunter Brandon, Richard Regan Jr., a longtime sim racer who's won plenty of championships on the platform. How do you feel about driving the ARCA car, especially when it comes to a track like this here at Homestead, especially since we're going to be transitioning from late afternoon into the night?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting challenge for the drivers tonight. The track's going to fire off a little bit tighter as the sun starts setting. Once the track temp comes down and we get into the evening stages, the track should be a little bit more grippier. But these ARCA cars, they're very finicky with dirty air, so it's going to be a lot of momentum racing tonight, and it should be good.
Absolutely be interesting in turn what we see tonight. The field itself taking its time to be able to qualify. As you would expect here, Derek, drivers are waiting to see if there's a temperature change probably before they fully commit to the racetrack. Earlier this season, by the way, it was Dalton Kilroe in a 162-lap race that picked up the win. He won that by 7 seconds with 33 laps led early on in April. This race tonight, 175, so a little bit longer, an extra 13 or so laps to be able to battle for the championship, which will impact some of the fuel strategy you'd have to think.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of differences. Obviously, a few more laps is involved. I believe in the April race, it would have been less likely we ended at nighttime, or at least less time at night, so the track could behave differently. The temps would be different, obviously, with the virtual sim dates. So, I mean, that said, if you're Dalton Kilroe, you've got to feel good that the other drivers voted on the track that you won at. You've got to feel like you have a proverbial, little extra, maybe lucky rabbit's foot in your pocket or something like that. So here we are, November 16th, 4:48 p.m. virtual sim time. I believe I looked earlier, JP, and I believe the sun is scheduled to set right around 5:30 p.m. virtual sim time. So very quickly into this race, the sun's going to go down. So if you don't mind, I'm going to ask Rich here. You're preparing for your own Final Four race that we'll talk about later this week. Knowing the sun's going to go down so quick in this race, your practice laps that you would have done to prepare for this, you would have done them all basically at night, right?
Absolutely. If the majority of the race is going to be at night, and especially, with this track in particular, as well as the track that we're going to be at on Wednesday night at Auto Club, they're very sensitive to track temperatures. So it's good to practice a little bit in the daytime, especially if you want to get a good qualifying spot. But you definitely want to be prepared as much as you can for the nighttime action, and try to set yourself up best for what you need to do during your long runs.
Well, JP, here's one of the Final Four right here in Cody Gibson. He's going to come around in that 7 car, the Cheetos machine, and try and set a time. And I would think, JP, if I was one of the Final Four, qualifying has to be the thing I might have worked on the most all week. 17 car field, I believe, is where we're standing right now. I don't want to have to fight through the field at Homestead. I want to be up front all night long. I would have put a lot of emphasis on my qualifying run.
I agree with you on that, especially since we've seen how critical track position's been in a lot of cases. You can have a fast car on the short run, but there's only so much you can do on the long run if you are already 3 seconds back in the leader, let's say. Cody Gibson, he's going to start things off in qualifying. For his times 2/10 off the pole. Chris Carroll, he's already had to reset. A lot of these drivers here, Richard, use the outside to build up the runs, build up the momentum here. The 97 has already hit the wall once here, trying to get the outside to work. He just did it again. More contact once again. How difficult is it to run that high line here? You're already seeing the 97 just destroy the side of the car here.
Yeah, it's very difficult to run the top, especially in 3 and 4. In 3 and 4, there's a lot of bumps where you don't get too much in 1 and 2, and exit of 2, you can normally carry more momentum, but there's specifically one very big bump right before you hit the throttle, almost before the center of turn 3 and 4, and if you don't hit that bump just the right way, it's going to shoot you to the outside and up into the wall. So everyone's going to have to manage that tonight, and it should be interesting to see how that plays out.
Carroll now is using the bottom line for his good lap here. Carroll put up a 33 flat running the high line the first time around. Hunter Lagoons, his first time was up in 6. Where does Carroll stand? That's going to be a 32.6. Only 5th quickest in session there. So Taylor Butcher Benjamin, one of the errors yet to set a time here. All playoff drivers have at least set one time on the racetrack right now. Keep an eye on where Lagoon's time goes as Kilroe's first qualifying effort. He was the first qualifier out of the field here, Derek. Standing firm, it looks like. Lagoons just finished his run in 4th. The 41 setting the gauntlet to start things off as the other non-playoff / championship drivers look for a response.
When you and I do call races together, JP, I talk a lot about the mental side of racing and what it can do for you and how it can get to you. And I like what Kilroe did from a mental side. He went out there, and you know what? He may have gotten an advantage for waiting, 7 minutes for a couple degrees to cool off. But instead, what he did, he went out there and he sort of put the stamp on it, right? He just said, listen, guys, here is the watermark. Here's the benchmark. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to throw it down. I'm going to put my cards on the table, and I'm going to make you chase me. And that can put pressure on people. If you see, oh my gosh, Kilroe did a 32.541, now you're stressed out. Now you want to beat it. Now you want to get there, and you might make a mistake doing it. And so I like what Kilroe did. I thought that was a smart move.
But Kilroe going to have the clean air to begin. As a result here, John Perkins, Tanner Marr, Aaron Bockover Last drivers left to be able to set qualifying times here. It looks like all of them will at least get a lap in. At the minimum, likely both, with Marr and Bockover coming up to the start and finish line this time through. But Perkins, also in that team championship fight, will set himself into 6th, right in front of his teammate Mark Arthur. As we take a look at Bockover, keep in mind with the team championship standings, Two Dudes Racing could secure a team championship today here as well, Derek. That's going to be the big thing for them at least. MFRD Racing could force a tie breaker situation in the team standings if they have the best team performance.
I remember that unique format. You take your average and your best and your worst finisher on track, and that's the kind of numbering system they use to help determine where you finish team-wise. So will be fun to see. Here's Tanner Marr in the 4 car. He got there the last second and put that lap in, and qualifying is over.
Qualifying comes to a close as all drivers except for Mike Matson-Gill set qualifying times tonight. Here from Homestead, Miami, let's take a look at how they'll start tonight in this one. On the pole, it's Dalton Kilroe. Trevor Harmon was 21 thousandths off. He'll start second, one of his best performances in quality this season. Brian Dees starts next to Brian Zerman. They will start in row number 2. Hunter Lagoon starts off in the 5th position with John Perkins down in 6th spot. Row number 4, Mark Arthur starts 7th. Larry Bell will begin in 8th position. Rounding your top 10, Chris Carroll and Cody Gibson. They're amongst the tail of the playoff drivers.
Moving back into P11, Tanner Butcher Benjamin in the 10 cars next to the 44 of Aaron Bockover. Moving back into P13, Tanner Marr's in the 4 car, and he's next to 83 of William Burton. P15 is Ty Marasco in that number 1 DQ car. He's next to the 60 of Nicholas Moody. Back into P17, last car on the grid, part of Black Hawk Motorsports at 20 of Mike Massengill.
So we've talked about with the runners here tonight from Homestead Miami Speedway. As we get ready for tonight, keep in mind your stages are laps 35, 70, that are a long, long run to the checker flag. That final run will be, give or take, about 100 green flag laps if it goes well. But the air temps are dropping, the track temp not so much. Your keys to victory here, Richard, as we get ready to go racing one final time for Blazing Pedals in 2025.
Definitely got to manage your tires here. We got a couple stages that we got to work our way through, so you got to set yourself up to have good track position at the end of those stages. Definitely got to make sure that you don't get into that wall and scrape up the right side of the car. Aero is very important here, especially with these cars. So, and then also make sure that you are on the right pit strategy, especially once we get into stage 3. You don't want to get yourself caught up behind in a hole.
And JP, I want to piggyback here and say, I think the other thing that Rich already hit on earlier, I'm going to want to point out to you, that temp right there on your screen, 82 degrees Fahrenheit, that's your track temp currently. I think Rich would agree. That's the other key to victory, is keeping your eye on that and managing that all night long. Because as that thing cools off, this track as it is right now is not how this track is going to drive an hour and a half or 2 hours from now.
The field just about getting set to go for tonight's festivities. Again, 17 cars looking to battle it out. The winner tonight for the race itself will get $50. Second place on the track will get $30, and $20 goes to the driver who comes across the stripe in 3rd spot. That was announced a couple weeks ago. That's going to be for the non-championship runners to emphasize a part of those on track here this evening. Happy to have you with us here on Green Flag TV. It's the season finale for Blazing Pedals and its ARCA Series. Dalton Kilroe in control. The pace car already off. The green flag in hand. We're underway from Homestead. coming out of turn 4. The 41 able to get in front of Harmon. Harmon immediately on attack mode from the onset. As the rest of the field tries to get their rhythms going, majority of the field prefer to run down at the bottom to start.
Wow, that was crazy, that first lap there, Rich. They were like not just 3 wide, but there was at least 3 different lanes being used. Here it is again, Rich. And I saw someone basically scrubbing the wall out of 3 and 4 the first time, Rich.
Yeah, definitely some crazy racing, especially with how long of a race we have, as the 17 is in the middle here. Just got to definitely manage how aggressive you want to be here, especially if you're in the final 4. You don't want to put yourself in a bad spot too early and compromise the rest of your night.
So far, so good. If you're Brian Zimmerman up already to second, Brian Dees. It's a regular attack with his run to start. Wrap the white line through 1 and 2 to begin the opening laps, and now just trying to hug things down here. It's going to be important for drivers like Lagoons, though, to pick up track position, along with Carroll and Gibson. They're so far yet to make up too much ground here. You can see Carroll trying to pass them all high side.
Yeah, they're trying to get in the high sides, going to get blocked off there. I believe John Perkins, who's went up there and took that lane away. Here's a look on board from Chris Carroll up in P6. Remember, JP, this is winner. Well, it's not just a winner take all. It's best finisher take all, right? Could be a weird scenario, although it typically never happens, where your championship 4 winner is just the highest finishing of the 4. So in theory, you don't have to win the race. You just have to beat your competitors.
That's the key here tonight, being able to score the first out of the championship front runners. They want an opportunity. And right now, Carroll trying to run the floorboards at least to pick up some track position at least for the later on, or he can destroy the floorboards and slam the wall.
Ish. Yeah, that's tricky, JP, because I mean, what you could do, that could do one of 2 things. The positive, there's some good time to be found out there up against that wall. That's one of those tricks of racing, is that you really get up there and ride, you can get a really good run off the corners. But if you don't do it right, you're going to tear up that race car. You're going to put some damage on it. You're going to mess with the aero. You're going to mess with the body. And all of a sudden, now you find yourself really, really behind the 8 ball.
Definitely don't want to do that with this field, to say the very least here. Remember, for those tuning in, championship front runners are your 41, 97, 27, and 7. To keep an eye on your scoring pylon here tonight. All those drivers have fought hard to get to this opportunity this season, especially since we've seen some comers and goers when it comes to winners. Trevor Harmon, he's trying to come back to the 2nd spot. Dropping the bottom here. So difficult to pass here, Richard, so far, and we're seeing that right now with Zimmerman getting that run down the front again.
Yeah, it gets a little bit easier to pass as the tires wear out here, as there's multiple lanes that you can use, but Zimmerman was trying to ride behind Kilrow there for a little bit, but I think he started to overheat the right front, and him running this top lane, he's going to be able to defend pretty good against the 29, but it's also going to heat his tires up pretty bad. And if we have a long run here, it might hurt him towards the end of the run, as now we see the 17s closing in on the 29 as well.
Yep, right now, D's trying to regroup to be able to close back up here. And for Harmon, mind you, Derek, it's a little bit of a surprise to see how well he started things off. Harmon's been one of the more quieter run ring drivers this season. 11 top 10s on the season, but he did get a win. That's the interesting thing. He actually is a race winner this season. He won all the way back at Talladega, back at the mid-April point of the calendar. So he has at least done a victory lane.
Yeah, race 9, I think, is Talladega, and he did win back there. And that car's always been consistent, right? It's always somehow found itself in the camera shots, though, right? You call him quiet. I don't necessarily disagree with that use of that word, but at the same time, he's always there. He's always kind of relevant. He's always in the mix. He's just often isn't able to maybe to finish the race that well, but always has a pretty good run. There's the 27, by the way. He got maybe a little squirty, a little loose out of the corner. That's going to happen as the night runs on, by the way, because these transitions out of these corners are going to get wild And as these tires wear off, it's going to get a little snappy, a little squirrely, a little ugly for some of these drivers.
Now the fall off for those Curies, 0.3 of a second, by the way. Kuro has already pulled away by near 0.7 of a second on the advantage to begin this run as well. And the tough thing's going to be throughout this entire race here is being able to establish yourself on run. Keep in mind, the top 9 have already broken away by almost a full 2 seconds. Lori Bell, Aaron Bonkover, Ty Marasco, Tanner Marr, Will Bruden, and Nicholas Moody have all lost ground. Hunter Lagoons has also just had an issue because he's plummeted down to 16th in the past couple moments here as well as Carroll goes for it.
So, Rich, what comes to my mind right now is if you're Hunter Lagoon, it's not okay that's happening, but like in a race where you have stages 35 and 70, if you're Hunter Lagoon, it's not okay, but at the same time, keep yourself calm because at least in 35 laps, the yellow comes out and it kind of resets the field again, right?
Yeah, for sure. You definitely just, we're only in stage 1 here. We're only 13 laps into the race, and the biggest thing that he wants to do right now is not get overwhelmed that he's having a bad night to start off here, and he's got plenty of time to make his way back up. I have all the faith that he can get up there. It's just he needs to be patient and let the race come to him more than him trying to chase off the race here.
Yeah.
Well, JP, here's Brian D. Sorry to cut you off, and I like this line. I'm sure Rich is probably going to disagree with me on this a little bit. I like this line that Dees is running because both that top lane against the wall and that bottom lane against the white line in the corners are both super dangerous for their own reasons. I like this line Dees is running. It's kind of just playing it safe for now, JP.
Yeah, that's the key right now is making sure you have the car for later on, absolutely. I'm almost wondering if that might be the thought with the Lagoons because he's the slowest car on the track by far, by 1 second a lap. See him right there. 34 ones right now. I don't think there's any tire strat unless you're taking a massive gamble here. Keep in mind, you have 4 tire sets tonight. If the math serves correctly, if you've used a couple sets for the end of the stages, still needs a couple sets for pit stops during the green flag run. I'm not sure where the strategy would come into play for the 27.
I wonder if something spooked him. I wonder if he saw something inside the car that we didn't see from the cameras. I wonder if he saw something kind of brewing, right? As a race car driver, and Rich can talk better this than I can, you can start to see and feel things coming, right? You can see an accident forming. You can see a driver making a mistake. And sometimes you just want to maybe you want to back up. Because as a championship 4, the last thing you want to do is get involved in someone else's incident.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, especially with, the top 10 cars here, they're all pretty packed up together, and a lot of them are running side by side. And although it's been relatively clean side by side, it only takes one mistake from one driver to cause a huge accident. And, with having those stages in the back of your pocket and being knowing that you can be patient and stuff, sometimes the best move is just to back out of it and play the safe game. We don't normally see that too much at 1.5-mile tracks, mostly only on super speedways, but it's such a long race that anything can happen.
Right now, Dawson Kilroy's taking control by 1.4 seconds. Ryan Dees, he controls things up on the high side now for third spot with Zimmerman slipping back into this fight you see. Full shade starting to kick in. The lights have turned on above the circuit as well. 2-time sun, and we have contact. Trevor Harmon into the side. No. There he goes around. Caution flag is out. Zimmerman sliding up at the 29. Helps bring around the Toyota to bring out our first caution of the night.
How wild is that? He got turned around in a corner at Homestead, and except for the contact we'll see in the replay, guys, except for the contact that caused the caution, nothing or no one else got hit. Here's the 28. He's going to come up. He's going to hit him, and the 28's already apologized. But look at that. I mean, that's a great control by Trevor Harmon. He gets that thing back down and stopped and moving the right way. It's not common, JP, that we get to watch a race here where that's as clean of a wreck as it is.
Quite easy for that to happen here too, Richard, a little bit, because you're pushing tight likely off of turn 4. In that case, 29 gets the worst. Brian Zimmerman's lost his TV panel, though, somehow in the midst of all that. Because in that sequence, Zimmerman got rear-ended by Dees.
Wow, he certainly did. That's Butcher Benjamin. Is that the Rick and Morty car?
Yeah, it is Butcher Benjamin. Part of me there seeing the wrong color palette. But it goes from what could have been a simple situation, Richard, to damage control, plus cause caution for the 28.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but it goes back to what I was just talking about how, it was nothing intentional. It was hard racing early on in the race, and it just one little mistake, it just caused a little bit of contact, and now the 28 is going to be in a little bit of a hole the rest of the night. These cars are very sensitive to aero, and sometimes not having that rear bumper can help you with aero, but I have a feeling that here you're going to want it. But it just goes to show you how quick things can change in the matter of seconds on the racetrack.
Now, as a result, significant repair times for Zimmerman and Butcher Benjamin with no fast repairs in this championship series. Looks like at least Zimmerman's going to have a rear end. Butcher Benjamin, front nose, completely okay. At this point, Nicholas Moody, Hunter Lagoons also came down for service during this caution period. And keep in mind, for both of them, believe it was fuel only at most for the two of them as they'll extend the run. We are still going to have less than 15 laps to work with in stage 1, as Kilroe's lead is now eviscerated, and Carroll is now at the second with an opportunity to try and pounce on the 41 here, Derek.
Yeah, that's interesting, right? Because we saw Carroll really moving around, really trying some lanes, really trying to make up time, and he just, it wasn't even, right, on the initial restart. So now it is, and with Carroll up top, where he seems to have preferred at times, I'm curious if he can either pull away or at least keep even with Dalton Kilroe here. So this will be fun to see how they're going to play out and what's going to happen. And then, back beyond those two, you got to go back a few more spots. Back to P6 to find Cody Gibson. And then, of course, Hunter Lagoon all the way back there in P15. So for right now, for Kilroe and Carroll, the question is, do you race this out and go for it? Do you have fun? Or do you say, hey, we got some space up here. Let's not race too hard. Let's not let the others catch up to us.
Field getting ready for the restart. Kilroe choosing the inside, Carroll on the outside. Then it's Dees and Perkins, followed by Arthur and Gibson. Gibson now up to 6th. He is right now the 3rd highest of the championship 4. Tom Marasco, Larry Bell, Tanner Marr, Aaron Buckover, part of the grid up front. Backing away as Kilroe gets the launch. He runs away, all while Gibson all over the rear end of the 33, trying to make some moves already on the high side.
Well, guys, didn't take long for Kilroe to pull away again. He's got a car between him and Carroll and Brian Dees. That car there, second lane, right behind, right in front of Carroll, pardon me. But look how fast they single filed out this time. Last time they were 3 wide through the corners. This time a little bit of fanning out, but they all wanted to quickly get in line and almost defend their spot here.
Yep, all of them trying to battle as hard as they might here in this situation. Gibson showing a bit of urgency to get the track position right now, but Dee's got a good start too, mind you, to take away that second spot from the rip. Everybody else starting a single file out here. Gibson preferring the outer groove still compared to most of those running the eNASCAR line, the inside groove as we go.
Well, here we are running now up front here, and there's Chris Carroll. He's got Cody Gibson now only 2 spots behind, so now Cody Gibson's got to kind of get locked in here. And I like what Gibson's doing. He's just trying to run a different line. He doesn't want to get caught in the dirty air, doesn't want to just, do the same thing to everyone else. So he's riding higher in the corner, trying to find some speed. He's right behind John Perkins here. And now everyone's starting to kind of move around. Now Chris Carroll's back up to the top of the wall where I thought he'd be in the first place.
Right now, seeing some of the others try and make up a bit of ground, like Ty Marasco here. One of the drivers that competed for postseason early on in the championship run. Ended up finishing up with 946 total points to his tally. Though by the very end of the shuffle, missing things out on the cut lines. Very end. But see him right now in front of Tanner Marr and Larry Bell in their fight. Marr gets the outside of work. He spent just about the entire practice session working on the graphics board for social media for the series. So the 4 said, if I'm in the way, that's because of that situation. So not a lot of practice time for Tanner Marr.
Oh boy, and practice time is super important at a track like this because it is very unique. It looks simple, but this track will give you problems all night long. So there's the 4 down to the white line. And Rich, I made this comment earlier. I'm curious your opinion. I think that white line at Homestead is dangerous. I think it can cause your car to kind of snap out from under you and get loose. Do you find the white line is dangerous?
Yeah, the white line at most tracks are pretty slick, but you can use it to your advantage if you know what your car needs. If you hit the white line at a certain spot on the track, like late center or early exit, you need that extra rotation and you're expecting it, you can make it work. But if someone creeps down there and hits it by mistake, being how loose that can get you, it can definitely catch you out for a surprise. And let me just add, as we got a battle here trying to shape up for first place between Kilroe and Dees. Kilroe, he's been out front pretty much all race here, and right now he's my favorite. I mean, he's been able to sit back and save his tires the majority of this first stage here, and I think right now he's just set on cruise control, as you see a second ago, of how calm he looked behind the wheel there. So definitely liking what I see out of the 41 here tonight.
Been consistent. He's been quick. It's going to be difficult to beat Kilroe, especially with how well things have gone. Mark Arthur, it's been pretty solid throughout the season, to say the very least. Right now, inside the top 10, you see the leaderboard that all the postseason drivers, your championship for specifically, are the ones in red. Remember, the ones in red, that's racing for the championship, obviously, but the ones not in red are racing for a non-championship top 3 prize pool for the race tonight. Brian Dees, John Perkins, Ty Marasco are in those top 3 spots as we run out of those drivers so far tonight. So again, the ones you're wanting to watch for the championship itself, the one's going to be in the crimson red here this evening. Arthur getting to that top conversation point. A one-time winner this season, Derek, but was very quick in the early portion of the season and some of the midway, but has faded a little bit as this postseason has come to a close.
Yeah, sadly he has, right? And it's kind of, that's the difficulty of this format, right? And that's one of the big arguments about this format is, is it fair? And, all the arguments that come with that topic. And everyone has an opinion about the playoff format. And some people love it, some people hate it, some people want to go back to old systems and create new systems and everything. But, just in my mind, just like other sports, unfortunately, you really have in this system we have, at least for this season, you have to kind of rise at the right time, right? It's like being a Super Bowl winning team or being a team who wins the Stanley Cup. You have to really perform under the big lights, so to speak. And so if you start to fade out of existence as the season goes on, in this format, you're not going to probably do that well. So that's unfortunate for him to have those kind of moments. Only a couple laps left, JP, here before the stage ends. And then I suspect new tires go on the car for everybody.
I'm curious what the situation is going to be for Hunter Lagoons with him running 16 seconds behind.
Yeah, Rich, I thought maybe he was trying to lay back for a second and kind of stay out of the calamity. But now that he's like 16 seconds off the pace, I suspect either virtual in-sim car-wise or something wrong, or maybe hardware-wise or something wrong. You don't fall that far back to avoid a wreck.
Yeah, it's a little hard to tell what he's exactly dealing with. I've been watching his onboard camera for a little bit the past couple laps, and I don't really see him struggling with anything in particular. I don't know if he's just not comfortable with the car right now, or I think it's more so that he's just trying to be patient. And we're still in stage 1, so I mean we still got a lot of time to go. And I mean the top 8, you know, some of them are spread out, but a lot of them are still in a pack side by side. So there's still a lot of hard racing going on. And I mean we got such a long race here that there's really no need to put yourself in a bad spot early on.
And here's the good news, JP. If there is something wrong with that car in sim, maybe he got some damage somewhere, these are long pace laps under any caution. So we're coming to a stage break here right in just a moment. He'll have a lot of time to fix that car.
Want to go in the stage, by the way. Kilroe still up 3/10 over Brian Dees. The rest of the field has lost almost 2 seconds again. This time an even quicker succession compared to the previous time. All this as well, Kilroe, he's so far put up a dominating effort. The 41's been quick. Stage 1, Dalton Kilroe. He's the one who gets it. He's in second. Carroll in third. Marasco, Gibson, Perkins, Arthur, Harmon, Marr, Bell. Your top 10, 3 of the championship 4 get in the stage points at least. But Hunter Lagoons starting at the back. 15th, depending on how things go on strategy, as the field will catch itself up to the pace car here, Derek. Good start for car 41.
I would say a great start for car 41, right? I mean, this led, I'm pretty sure every lap in this first stage has, you know, been able to pace the field at times. Seems comfortable, seems confident, and he'll now get to go down and put new tires on this car and get to do it yet again. So for the 41, this is just exactly how you could write out the blueprint.
So your thoughts on what you've seen and heard so far, Richard, with how things have gone so far, especially since we've had the one caution. Things have stayed pretty calm for the most part. Your thoughts on how things have broken down tonight as we get to the full darkness already?
Yeah, I mean, things have been calm with caution-wise, but the racing has been insane so far. I don't know if we did a single lap where the top 8 wasn't side-by-side with somebody. I will say, if I'm Dalton Kilroe, I am feeling pretty confident right now, but I wouldn't want to feel too confident because 17 of Brian Dees, he was a little bit mired in some dirty air before that first caution came out in the first stage, and he was matching his lap time pretty good with the 41, so I think they're going to put on a good race tonight, and we'll see what happens here with pit stops and who can get some track position.
Field now coming in for the service. Your championship 4 pit stops are highlighted on the right side of your screen. Should see everybody tank 4 tires unless Lagoons is trying something massively different here. Don't think I've really even seen Carroll jump on the jacks here. Correct me if I'm wrong here. He didn't go on the jacks here. As a matter of fact, I think some people are banking and saving the tire sets maybe here. Lagoon's also only topped off. No tires, Richard.
Yeah, that is definitely a strategy. I almost don't like that just because we did start in the sunset. So we still had some sunlight on the racetrack. I'm assuming the track temp has came down a little bit, but personally, I would have liked to take my first set of tires right there, reset with a cooler track temp, and then try to save and see if I could stretch out a set and bank one for later on in the night. But it will be interesting to see what the difference in strategies, what we get here on the restart, and yeah, it should be a good thing to see here.
Put on strategies, but good opportunity to remind you that the series does have a presenting partner for its campaign, Ohio and Indiana Roofing. They are a premier roofing contractor, sister company to the Bruns Construction Enterprise, specializing in commercial and industrial roofing, and are committed to accommodating the unique needs of each client and offering creative solutions to meet those needs. We are a team of individuals who work for the same common goals: professionalism, quality, and service. Services we offer include preventative maintenance, re-roof and new construction, infrared scanner, green roof solutions, metal, retrofit, emergency repair services, and more. Please visit oiroofing.com for more information. Derek, I believe you have a quick standing on by with part of the strategy.
Yeah, so I was able to catch up with Hunter Lagoon here under the stage break. Hunter, what's going on? Is it from the broadcast, you look like maybe you're falling back? Is the car okay?
Oh yeah, everything's great. I figured, I got to look at this as like a piece of pie, right? I can take a slice now, or I can save the whole thing for later, right? So I save a set and we use it hopefully at the end of the race. Tires are sitting pretty good, so I feel like I didn't really lose anything, but we'll see.
All right, I'm gonna put you back down your team. We're going green. Good luck.
Yep, thank you.
Green flag is out back underway as Lagoons goes back to his grouping. Interesting play. Again, the math says in theory you'd have enough sets with all the pit stops, Richard. But it's obvious people are banking for more. Ty Marasco is around across the nose of Cody Gibson. Caution flag is out.
I didn't take long.
Yep. Unfortunately, that's part of what you get with different tire strategies. Doesn't look like any of them will get away with too much damage here. Definitely might affect the right front on the 7 there. But yeah, as we take a look at what happened on pit road as somebody hits the barrels coming in.
A couple did. You know what? Will Bruton, I think, just destroyed his right front back there. Tanner Marr got a 0x. Bruton definitely destroyed the fender.
Yeah, I heard Tanner Marr say it in the radios. He said, "Oh my God, hit the barrels, 0x." But here's the wreck that happened. Cody Gibson, one of our playoff drivers, and Marasco made contact, and boy, oh buddy, Marasco's come back up the track and almost made contact with the last car in line there. So just that quickly at Homestead, that's how quickly something can happen to restart, Rich. And as much as I don't watch this again one more time, here's going to happen. There's a 27 down low. Here comes Cody Gibson. He's got up under the quarter panel, and he just hit him. As much as I don't love the idea of falling back 16 seconds for Hunter Lagoon, I think that's a little probably on the much side, the excessive side. These kind of moments right here proves what he was just talking about. Hey, listen, I could be up there racing right now. I could, what's the whole phrase? Have your cake and eat it too. He could be up there right now enjoying it, but he says, "Hey, I'll lay back and let the carnage happen, and I'll try and get it later."
But let's go back to that caution in stage 1. I mean, that could have very easily became a track blocker, and depending on where he was, he could have gotten damage from that. He falls back from the field after the restart, 16 seconds back. But then we come to the pit stop, and he comes off of pit road in P5, and that put him right in front of that wreck. It happened just behind him. So, I mean, that strategy might be working out pretty good for him. It will be interesting to see if he can hang with the guys that are in front of him, just because he didn't get that experience of the dirty air, and as the track has been changing. But, it did put him 16 seconds back, but, I mean, he's back in the top 5 already.
And the challenge to laying back for these wrecks, guys, and JP is specific, the challenge I have as a driver for laying back for the wrecks is that wrecks don't move forward, right? I mean, look at that right there. We just saw with Gibson and Marasco. That wreck doesn't move forward. It moves backwards. And so you're laying back in the track and you think, oh gosh, I'm going to be back here and I'm going to avoid a wreck. And we're all drivers. We've all been in a spot where we thought, hey, I'm good. I'm going to clear this wreck. And next thing you know, someone doesn't hold a brake, or someone gets hit and the car kind of moves up the track, or something happens. And it's sometimes the harder you try to avoid the wreck, the more likely you are to be in the wreck.
And now, after that, Ty Marasco still completing some service on the car to fix things up, just to make sure everything's okay. Cody Gibson got the incident responsibility, as you would expect in that sequence. So he'll start at the tail. Also came down to top off and check for damage repair. So once again, the older tires are still in the 41, 17, and 27. They are still going to be out towards the front. Everybody else bolted on new tires. Let's find out how this goes. Again, we're racing to lap 70 here in this stage. My racing pace car dropping off. Field has so far been in control of the 41 all race long. For how long will it last? We're back on our way. Chris Carroll going for second.
Look at them fanning out 3 wide behind here, and this is the crazy thing about Homestead. I mean, you got so many lanes you can pick from, and it's just wide open all the time. As we're still 3 wide, now we're going back to 2 wide. But yeah, it's definitely a crazy race. It's hard to game plan for because so many things can happen that are out of your control. As the 4 hits the wall a little bit there into turn 3.
It kind of like the 4 was almost pulling out the old, like, Ross Chastain for a second. I thought the 4 was gaining speed and scrubbing the wall like that. Just maybe our camera angle just kind of caught it weird, but looked for a second he was kind of zooming on through, but he got up off the wall, and now he's away from it. There is Chris Carroll, by the way. He's up to P3 on the board. By the way, 1, 2, and 3. Gibson, Lagoon, Carroll, your top 3 in the race. They are all fighting for this title.
And one thing to know about the 27 here, you know, he was about 0.8 to a second a lap slower after that first caution in stage 1. Obviously, we talked about how he was 16 seconds back from the 41 at the finish. What does that do to his tires? How much tire did he get to save during that run? And how much of an advantage is that going to give him here as he's on the same tire strategy as the 41 still?
And let me stack onto that and come back to the topic of mentality for a second. Remember where I talked earlier about, I love the mental part of racing. I love how it affects you and how it affects your opponents. If I'm Chris Carroll, if I'm TBB, if I'm John Perkins, and I'm behind the guy who didn't take tires on the first pit stop, what does that do for me? Am I now going to be more aggressive to get around him? Am I going to lay back and be cautious because I'm scared that he has old tires? That's a good question too, JP, to talk about, is what does it do to the mentality of the drivers around him that know he didn't take tires?
It's all going to be interesting, but I was about to say before the great points brought up by both of you, Lagoons has been quicker to the 41. He's going for the lead. Lagoons inside. Here comes Carroll. He elects to push Kilrow for now. So Lagoons loses ground as a result of the push. Carroll ready to wrap the top, though, and drive around the both of them.
Oh, that's going to be gross. Oh, boy. Kilrow lost. TBB pushes Lagoon, and now it's Carroll up front. It's still Lagoon in second. It's Kilrow back to third. He's side by side with his teammate.
Nicely done by the 97 on the fresh tires. But now the plummet begins. Kilrow now falling back into traffic for the first time today, Richard. This was the challenge you would expect with this. You can see Kilrow focused in his VR setup, keeping a steady wheel, trying to give plenty of space here, as there is still a lot of pressure from Butcher Benjamin for the lead.
Yeah, and how bad does TBB want to play spoiler here, not making the final 4? He wants to go out there and prove something. And back to the 41, you kind of made your bed by not taking the tires. You just got to make sure you keep yourself in a good spot here and you don't get any damage, and then you can rebound again in stage 3.
Right now, Goon's getting passed by Butcher Benjamin. Butcher Benjamin quicker on the bottom. A little bit of a bobble. Huge bobbles down the straightaway. Keep in mind, those drivers on the outside are teammates in this situation. For those who just tuned in, the reason Kilrow, who dominated to start off things in the stage, no tire call. Same set for a couple others. Lagoons is keeping up front after saving aggressively on his tires, but Carroll is a 10th quicker, at least right now, on his much fresher general tires underneath him. And that's allowing John Perkins and Mark Arthur in particular to join in on this fight too, Derek.
Yeah, this is quickly becoming a fight of the non-playoff drivers, right? I mean, look, you have 2 playoff drivers up front, and Carroll and Lagoon, but then you got to go back 3rd through 8th. These are all guys who have nothing out here to do except win, right? They're not worried about who they beat or if they're ahead of someone or any of that stuff. They just want to win and stay for the next few months until Blazing Pedals starts again next season to say, hey, I was the race winner. I'm the defending race winner, because there's no race to take that away from me. It's just bragging rights at this point. So that's what these guys are fighting for. Carroll's doing a great job using both using really both lanes of the track. I say both lanes in the top and the bottom, and that's what stands out to me about Chris Carroll, Rich. Typically, you find a driver who loves a part of the track. Maybe they love the top, they love the bottom, and they just sort of abuse the heck out of it, right? They ride that lane all night long, but Chris Carroll is doing an amazing job at using all the track.
Well, yeah, I mean, the ARCA car is very similar to the truck, and where, you know, you need to aero games is a huge thing with these cars, and if the guy behind you is closing in on you and he's ripping the bottom, you got to move your car to the bottom and give him all that dirty air. Not only is that going to stall the guy's momentum behind you, but it's also going to put more heat into that right front tire. So you got to be able to change up your lane where you need to be to be defensive. I do like what I'm seeing with Lagoons here, but I will say it does look like he is pushing quite hard, so I will be concerned with his tire wear at the end of this run, as the 10 has a huge moment coming off turn 2.
Big slow up after being at the front for a few moments there. Not anymore for the 10 as a result. And how that happened? Well, hit the wall, clapped it pretty hard, in fact.
Yeah, so did the car behind him. Was that the 4, I believe, right behind him, and did the same thing. And that's a driver. That's got to be my most frustrating habit. It somehow it gets to you, right? You watch the guy when you hit a wall, and you're like, don't do that. And next thing you know, you did it yourself, right? And you're like, oh, man, like, I don't know if it's target fixation, if it's just whatever it is, but that's so common to see someone hit the wall and someone else right behind him do the same thing.
Yeah, especially in iRacing, I feel it's been a long time where I almost feel like if someone's tight, the driver behind gets doubly tight, then that driver behind them gets triply tight, so forth and so on. In terms of just the aero gets worse and worse, and it drags everybody up into the wall. I've seen 4 or 5 cars in a line all slam the wall at once from it.
Yeah, it gets frustrating. And then you get mad at yourself. You're like, oh, what am I doing? Like, how stupid was that? You start to talk down to yourself, and you have to control those emotions and get there and get under control. But boy, someone who's controlling every day in this Love's car is John Perkins. Look at him riding second here behind Chris Carroll. The only thing I think he can do a little bit different, guys, is, you know, there's a mantra I like to use that says to be successful in life, you have to be better than, less than, or different than your opponents.
Again.
Hold on.
Tom Rasco turn around again. Yep.
Well, I'll come back to my point in a second. I want to see what happened here. We saw it from the up-high camera. But, wow. Well, caution yet again. Now I wonder if Lagoon or Kiro might finally want tires, Rich. Let's watch what happens first here. Here's TBB. They're 3 wide. Gibson on the bottom. And I think TBB just kind of drifted up, maybe not knowing how much space he had.
Yeah, he definitely drifted up just a little bit. The one was a little bit off the wall. Pretty hard racing deal right there, in my opinion, especially being 3 wide almost. Actually, they were 3 wide. But yeah, you know, the tire calls, we take another look on the onboard here. Just little barely bits of contact, but it just shows you how on edge these cars are every lap. But it will definitely be interesting to see what these guys want to do with their tire selection here. I personally would stay how my bed's made and keep riding on these old tires and try to bank some tires for stage 3 if we get some cautions in stage 3.
Yep, just comes up, hits the 1, and around the 1 goes, and you see those flaps on the top of the hood to keep that car on the ground. Not that we've not seen a car or two in iRacing get off the ground recently. But pit stop tap, of course, TBB, he'll come down. They've already assigned him fault for it. He'll get the end of line. There's Dalton Kilrow, I believe, right behind him, though. So Kilrow's down pit road. Now, there's no reason for it to be gas only. If he's coming down, I think it's got to be for tires. There's no advantage to gas only. We're only about, 17 laps from the end of the stage.
Let's keep an eye on the jacks. Butcher Benjamin's actually bolting on a new set with this caution period. And can confirm Kilrow taking tires, D's taking tires. Basically everybody except for Lagoons taking tires that had peeled on down. A couple others taking some quick service, like Nicholas Moody, Tom Marasco, believe rolled on through. So we're under caution yet again. It's a good time to mention that it all comes down to Wednesday night. one race at Auto Club Speedway to decide 3 different championships. There's currently a 3-way battle to decide the best of the rest championship for one of our series. That is PSR competition. That will see drivers like Nicholas Acosta looking to hold on to a 9-point lead over Mike Toomer Jr. You also have Zach Williams in the fight. But how about Regenboog Motorsports? Can they hold off Whataback Racing for the team championship? And finally, there will be the battle of the year, the lawn playoff title. Will it be Regan, Holly, Lowendick, or Kalen? There is one way to find out, and that is to tune in Wednesday night on Green Flag TV for the season finale of the Outlap Motorsports Truck Series. You do not want to miss this. And
JP, I sort of say I think we have a biased opinion in the booth, don't we? I think,
yeah.
Richard, you might have a biased opinion on a couple of those outcomes.
Oh, for sure. I mean, obviously, my team, Regenboog Motorsports, trying to go after the team championship. Zach Williams, he's also on Regenboog Motorsports, trying to get the best of the rest. Then, obviously, I got a couple guys helping me out, trying to go for that championship 4. Definitely have some stout competition throughout every points battle that was just talked about. So it's definitely going to be a crazy race. And make sure you guys tune in Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern to check it all out unfold.
It's going to be an interesting night once again. I'll be Derek and I once again in the booth for that finale. But 10 laps to go in this stage. Keep an eye on the 41. How far does Kilroe get? Green flag is out. We're back at our way with Chris Carroll leading. Mark Arthur trying to pass his teammate for second. All while the rest of the field rips its way into 1 and 2.
So I think what I like what Kilroe just did here, the more I think about it, guys, is what Kilroe's done here is kind of set up a live science experiment, right? We got, let's say, 14 laps to the end of the stage. So Richard's right. The way this tire strategy works out for Kilroe or for Lagoon is if we get a late caution and they have more tires than the rest of the, at least of the final 4, the playoff 4, if not the rest of the field. Well, for Dalton Kilroe, this is sort of a live science experiment. What can he do in 14 laps with new tires? Can he come from 12th to the front of the field? Can he, this is sort of like those, when you see a race at like Talladega, when someone falls back just to purposely see if their car can draft back to the front. For Dalton Kilroe, that may be what this is right here.
Good experiment, but it does burn that banker set that we had been talking about. Lagoons, keep in mind, keeping the banker set in case of a late race restart, because we've seen how some of these championships with a format like this here too in many series, whether it's at Phoenix, whether it's going to Martinsville, whether it's going anywhere. Seen many times where someone's looked dominant the first 100 laps of a race, Derek, and then all of a sudden in the final 50 laps or so, things just come undone.
Yeah, it's one decision, right? It's, again, coming back to the other sports analogy, right? It's like being in the fourth quarter Super Bowl. It's what play do you call? You know, make sure you don't throw the interception, making sure you don't, fumble the ball at the goal line, right? That's sort of where we are in this moment with this playoff system, is you have to shine bright at the right moment in order to succeed. But I want to say real quick here, I am very impressed by Hunter Lagoon. I mean, here we are come, 60-some laps in. He's still on the original set of tires. He's running P8 on track. He's competitive for the most part. Maybe not to the leaders right now, but he's still up here involved in the battle. I'm impressed by his ability to hold on to this car with 60-some lap tires, Rich.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the first stage after that caution, I mean, he was just saving for, I don't know, what was it, 16, 17 laps of a run that we had there. And, when you talk to him in the interview at the end of stage 1, I mean, he sounded very confident in what he wanted to do. And I like what he's doing, too. And I like that he still has that banker set. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I mean, Kilroe, he's still riding around in 13th right now. He could be saving tires for to get another set when we start save 3. I don't really know. But I think it's very hard to pass right now. I don't think like a 10-lap delta in tires is that important. Wow, we got a big move by the 7 there on the 29 as they're going to go into turn 3 here side by side.
at Gibson wanting to make all the ground back up. Remember, had the EOL for the cause of caution previous. And now he looks to try and get around Trevor Harmon, try and get a bit of track position back for that championship. Still nothing doing though as Marasco runs the floorboards. It's Gibson who runs the inside, makes the pass to move back up to the 4th position. Last time by, all the leaders were in the 33 flats. Outside of a couple, Taylor Butcher Benjamin on new tires, and Dalton Kilrow, who is heavily saving. Don't be surprised if the 41 stays out. We'll say that. Butcher Benjamin making it clear what his intentions are here.
Yeah, he wants to be back to the front, doesn't he? He's 3 wide on the bottom right there, trying to make that pass and get it through. Got Tanner Marr in the middle. He's got Marasco on the outside. Marasco, by the way, he's got to be getting gun shy by now, guys, because he's already had, been hit twice in this race. Maybe just wants to kind of get out of the way for a little bit. So, if you guys don't mind not hitting me. He's all up against the wall here and riding his way around. But something that a word Rich used that I think is important, and I heard it a lot today when doing some interviews and some prep work for some broadcasts this week, is confidence. And JP, I think you and I both know how important confidence is from a driver's standpoint. That interview with Hunter Lagoon we did into stage 1, he seemed happy, he seemed perky, he seemed upbeat about the decision he had made. And that confidence about how you feel about yourself can really matter a lot in how you drive.
Going to be interesting where things fare out towards the end of this one, but we are on the last lap coming through in this stage. Remember, last lap, stage 2, 35 and 70 for the stage cautions. Gibson still trying to attack for second on track. Can he find a way around Mark Arthur? Arthur, will he try and block things off? They both chose the top. Gibson gets covered off. Butcher Benjamin tries to pass on the inside. All while it's Chris Carroll who's coming out of 3 and 4. Carroll wins stage 2. Arthur, Gibson, Butcher Benjamin, Marasco get the top 5. John Perkins 6th. Harmon, Marr, Moody, and Lagoons get top 10s. Take a look at Tanner Marr as he definitely smacked the wall down. He is not having a fun time. He still held on to 8th though, Derek.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, that was kind of wild to see him get up there and hit the wall. He was almost 3 wide ahead of him, and I think maybe he's got a little eager about what he thought he could accomplish out of that run and didn't want to lift. But, well, here we are. Stage 1, Kilrow. Stage 2, Carroll. 2 different winners for stages in those playoff positions. So it's hard to say who has an advantage right now.
Yeah, especially with the tire split differences. Carroll's obviously got speed here tonight. Keep in mind, Chris Carroll, 6-time winner this season. Kilrow, a 7-time winner, the 2 heavyweights. Gibson had 2 coming into tonight. Lagoons had the 1. And right now, it's been the 97 and the 41 who have led just about, in fact, have led all the laps so far tonight. So now it's going to be the expectation. You have to think here, Richard. With the 41 Kilrow saving so hard, you have to think he's thinking about staying out here and risking it on older tires. It's not as big of a split difference, though, this time.
Yeah, the delta is definitely lower. He might come down here to top off on fuel, which I think he's going to do. It's definitely blown this race open with all the tire strategy. I mean, no one really knows who's going to be the dominant car. I mean, we've seen Kilrow absolutely dominate stage 1 there. Pretty much cakewalk for him. And then, in that second stage, we've seen Carroll. He just walked away with it. So definitely going to be interesting to see what happens as we got guys on pit road and the 97 goes up on the jacks.
Yep, so Butcher Benjamin and Dees stay out. Marasco coming up through. Kilrow fuel only, so he will be the first out of pit road. Arthur actually beat Carroll out of the lane. So a good pit delta for the 12 machine. He was half a second quicker in the pit lane.
That was interesting to see. Yeah. Taylor Butcher Benjamin. Let's try that again. Taylor Butcher Benjamin, easy for me to say, and Brian Dees both did not pit this time, by the way. And I'll be honest with you, JP, I thought Dalton Kilrow was going to be up there. I thought by pitting with like 15 to go in the stage, I thought he was going to try this strategy of not pitting and just kind of letting it happen as you go. So, I mean, he'll be the first car up here. He did pit. He did gas only on this stop. So I guess he isn't technically up front. But yeah, a couple interesting rides here to see what's going to happen with these cars who didn't pit.
Yeah, so now we'll have to see how things work out. Kilrow, remember, on the older tires too. First on the freshies. Mark Arthur will have 101 lap dash to decide the championship here. So it's going to be an interesting close out to the season here. Richard, quite simply on the fuel strats though. Going to be likely a couple stops to the end. 75% fuel tanks, keep in mind, in the ARCA car.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I'm not exactly sure the number on how many laps they can go on fuel. I would assume it's 2-stop. They might be able to stretch it to 1 if some guys save fuel, or if we have some cautions. It's going to be interesting to see how this happens, especially with all the tire strategy that's going on. And this race is honestly just crazy, and I'm glad that we're here all watching it.
Here we go for the restart. 101 to go. Pace car already off. Butcher Benjamin in control. Green flag is out. The inside line gets the jump. And already to second and trying to pounce for the lead is Kilrow.
See Kilrow kind of looking around. Sorry, Rich. Sorry, Kilrow's kind of looking around here. He was kind of seeing what he could find out. That's his teammate in front of him, by the way. So does that give you a bit more confidence? Like, if you were Kilrow, would you have been nervous on that restart, having someone who didn't pit out in front of you?
Honestly, if I'm Kilrow, I wouldn't really want to be nervous at all right now. In my opinion, I feel like he's pretty locked in right now. I think he's going to want to try to go and take the lead from TBB as soon as he can here and get all that clean air and then go back to work on saving his tires. He's ripping the top. He's probably going to try to get momentum to get a run down the backstretch here.
Look at this. Can he get close enough for a poke underneath? Yes, he will. Here comes Kilrow to the inside. Butcher Benjamin preferring to run the outside. But it's Kilrow much quicker on apex. He's able to full throttle and clear. The 41, Dalton Kilrow, back to the championship lead and race lead combined now, as Chris Carroll is still in 4th spot.
Yep, Kilrow got a little bit of a bump draft there.
TBB offered not to take the fight to the 41 there and just push him down the front stretch. So that's going to help Kilrow a lot. And now I'm going to expect the 10 to do a lot of blocking for his teammate here. Not anything dirty, but just make it harder for the guys behind to get around him to then go try to chase down the 41 of Dalton Kilrow.
Now look at this, though. Carroll forces it 3 wide to get around both the 10 and the 17. No patience for the 97. He wants the spots. Cody Gibson next up in the line to try and do something.
I don't think you can have patience. I mean, yeah, we have, a bunch of laps left to go in theory, but at the same time, like, you don't. This is it. This is the last race. This is your only way to win is to pass Dalton Kilrow. And if you have brand new tires in that car like Chris Carroll does, you can't sit around and wait for Dees and Benjamin to make a hole for you. You kind of have to just carve it out yourself, right? It's like you're making like a jack-o'-lantern or a pumpkin for the holiday season, for the Thanksgiving or Halloween season. You have to kind of get in there and carve out your own path to success.
See right now, Arthur carving his way on through. Big run on Zimmerman, elects not to force it. Now back to the outside, trying to get something squared away. Zimmerman has been very fast. Remember, he had to get all that damage repaired earlier tonight, Richard. Now that car seems to be at full strength in the 28. is looking to go on attack mode. Playoff drivers or not.
Yeah, it's very hard to pass on the bottom here, though, unless you have a big enough run going into the corner and you can send it on the inside. You want to try to position yourself to the outside. You can carry the momentum a lot more. They're side by side still, and this is going to be a good battle to watch, and as well as the 7 and 17 in front of them.
Right now, Gibson trying to find a way to clear on by to be able to make a championship 1, 2, 3 on track here. Cody Gibson, keep in mind, two-time winner is talked about, but fairly consistent throughout the season. Got himself a lot of poles, 5 of them in fact, with qualifying speed. And high tide, he's also been looking really strong in the Gen 4 car over there. So a lot of momentum for Gibson the past couple of weeks so far on raw speed at 1.5 or 2 mile circuits, Derek.
Yeah, and you mentioned High Tide. That's the league on Monday nights on Green Flag TV. That season, they were the ARCA car. So some drivers like Dalton Kilrow and Cody Gibson and others, they love that car. Apparently, they raced it, back-to-back nights on the channel. So if you're someone like Dalton Kilrow, you have seat time. That's the experience you have right now, and it kind of shows maybe a little bit. He's already up to half a second gap on the field here, guys, and it's watch this. It's Brian Dees. He's now trying to get away from Chris Carroll and make a different lane. I'm going to come back to what I said earlier, that I like these different lanes. You have to try something different than your opponent. So we'll see how that plays out. But Rich, I'm going to come back to something with the tire strategy that we talked about earlier. This tire move only works out, in my mind, for Lagoon or maybe even for Kilrow if there's a good number of cautions in this last stage, I think. And based upon the pattern of what we've seen so far in this race, maybe only a caution per stage, only, I think, 17, 16 cars on track, I don't know that I'd be confident that there is a caution coming.
Yes, but as the race gets towards the later stages, closer to the finish, everyone gets more aggressive, and there's less give, and there's way more take. And, these guys have been very tight all night long and racing hard all night long. But one thing I want to point out real quick is the mind games going on between the 41 of Dalton Kilrow and the 97 of Chris Carroll right now. Chris Carroll has 4 new tires. Kilrow has about, 10, 11 lap older tires. So Kilrow was out there. He was running about half a tenth to a tenth faster every lap than the 97 for about 8 laps there. Pulled a half second gap. That lap time has evened out between the 97 and the 41. And right now it's going to be who wants to put themselves where, how hard do you want to push, and how comfortable are you if you're the 97 running in second in some dirty air and not having control of this race.
So that said, though, I think where this will come to fruition for the 97 is not right now, right? It's not about right now with the lap times. Let's say, 30 laps from now, when the tires are wearing, I think that's when the lap times will come back to benefit Chris Carroll a little bit, is his tires are going to take a little bit longer to wear than Dalton Kilrow. So I think right now you're right. I think the tires are about even, and it's kind of a moot point. But I think later we might see the fruit of the labor of that decision.
So as that discussion's been going on, by the way, Tom Marasco also has been making some inroads too. There goes Marasco. Sliding on by. Now, the one machine looking to try and find a way to poke around as quick as possible. Keep the charge going. Marasco's bounced back a couple times here. It's been a great effort for the one machine tonight. His Dairy Queen theme disqualified Ford has been able to bounce back so much. But right now, it's not been the same compared to some of the others like Gibson, who's still crafting different runs. Diamond line time, that's a little bit of a different run. Didn't work this time.
No, but I like the idea you're exploring. I mean, sometimes you got to just try it out and see what happens. But for Cody Gibson here in the 7, he's right behind Brian Dees. And I think of the 4 tonight, of the final 4, for some reason, Cody Gibson's up front. I mean, he's riding in P4 right now, but of the 4, I guess not. I sort of think he's been the most quiet. He had an incident with Ty Marasco earlier, but he's not been up front. He's not led a lap yet. He didn't fall back and have the weird strategy that Hunter Lagoon had. So of the 4, in a way, maybe he's been the quietest or the one most off radar so far. So we'll see if that continues as the night goes on. JP, I'm gonna go off topic for a second and throw you a curveball here, because I know you love those. We have the DQ themed car for the one, and it sort of has that Dairy Queen look to it. It made me wonder, does Justin Prince have a favorite, like, Blizzard or favorite flavor of ice cream?
Vanilla ice cream.
Oh, okay. Just plain old vanilla, nothing on it?
Yeah. I mean, I don't get the cone. I don't get the cone dipped. I don't get the ice cream dip. I just like vanilla ice cream. It's
No
that
sprinkles, no nothing?
simple. No.
Okay, fair enough.
What's wrong with that?
Rich? Nothing's wrong with it. It's just, I don't know. Just typically people have, very flavorful answers or wild answers, and I like it. You're just a basic vanilla guy. It's nothing wrong with that. Just, I wasn't expecting that. Rich, I know this, and I've forgotten. You're...
Personally, I think that's one of the most boring answers I've ever heard about what ice cream you'd like to eat with all the different
Rich,
flavors out there.
what is yours?
I like the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup Blizzards, because the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup is the best candy out there. We got a heck of a battle going on right now between Gibson and Dees. Definitely got to get the extra peanut butter cup and the extra peanut butter sauce in there, though. Have to have it.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'm a cookie dough kind of guy, for the record. I like, either cookie dough or I'm one of those mint chocolate chip guys. So if you want to bribe me with ice cream, mint chocolate chip is the way to go.
The one interesting thing I want to bring up here. So Chris Carroll, he's starting to put pressure on Dalton Kilrow up front. Carroll's starting to search around a little bit, and Gibson is trying to get around Brian Dees now. And if Gibson can get around the 7, I feel like that's going to put the pressure on Carroll to get around Kilrow even more, because that's another playoff guy behind him. I think right now Carroll's been biding his time behind Kilrow, and they're just logging laps, trying to get closer to the finish of this race. But I think in about 10 laps from now, things are gonna switch up a lot and get a lot crazier here as the 7 completes the pass.
Able to clear on by. It took him a long while. In fact, cost him a good second. And now Gibson looks to try and reset and regroup in this opportunity. Here's the tough thing, though. Yeah, Barasco also closing on up here. That could disrupt things. Zimmerman's also been looking mighty quick now. These cleared by D's also. The last time by Gibson, the first time it cleared on by, matched the leader of Dalton Kilrow, who is under attack by Chris Carroll. Things are side by side. The 41 peels in front of the 95 as they continue to fight behind.
There's a lot of things happened in that one camera shot. Hold on. There's Mark Arthur around.
No caution.
Save it. No caution. Wow. What caused that, guys? Was there... I didn't even see any real contact to cause that.
Did I say in about 10 laps things were going to get crazy? I should have said in about 2 laps things were going to get crazy, because now everything's changed. And now the 97 and the 41 are side by side for the lead, and the 97 has the move done.
So hey, watch this again in the replay, guys, and watch the Barbie car up top. Oh, there's a checkup. There's a checkup. And that's what I thought was going to happen. Not to say that, but we saw Marasco take that lane through the corner all the way to the bottom, and he almost kind of made contact with a couple cars just because of the different exit lines of the corner. And watch Marasco comes up the hill and just sort of checks up. I'm not sure. I don't think he hit a wall, guys. He just sort of checked it up, and around Mark Arthur went and got it saved.
Great save effort, but it's going to absolutely cost him down in 12th position. But as you said, Richard, Chris Carroll took him a bit of time, but is able to now have the race lead here. Dalton Kilrow lasted a lot longer than I thought he would with the tire difference. He's a 10th of a second difference compared to the 97. Here's the pass. Carroll just drove around him on the high side.
Yeah, this happened as we were watching the replay.
Getting all that momentum off turn 2, and then getting that good run down the backstretch, and just going to send it down into turn 3 and slide up in front of him and clear himself. And now he's just going to try to set sail and pull a gap until the pit stops come around, and then we'll see what happens when who wants to get the undercut, who wants to get the overcut. It's going to be crazy, and we still have a lot of racing left to go.
And can I say, guys, when you watch that pass happen for the lead right there, isn't that sort of one of the pure benefits of league racing? The respect and the trust that both of them had to get that close and make that kind of pass. That's not something you see every day in maybe official racing where you don't know your competitor. You don't know if they can hold the wheel. You don't know if they're going to, you know, not try to bump you and keep the lead. There's enough respect between those two that he got that close to Dalton Kilrow and knew that it would be a clean pass.
Right, and that's the big difference with racing against people that you race with every week. You know who you can and can't run hard with. You know, drivers have rivalries with other drivers. It makes a way bigger story. It makes it way more entertaining, and it's more exciting as a driver, in my opinion, to do league racing, because you get to know the guys you're racing around, and you learn tendencies, and you get better, and other people get better, and it pushes you to drive faster, and it's just an awesome way. If anyone's looking to get into iRacing, definitely try to find a league if you're struggling on the official sides, because it can help you learn a lot as a driver.
We're seeing a lot of people learning what works and doesn't work. Gibson and Marasco finding the outside works pretty well. Gibson is still matching lap times with everybody else up front, but Marasco is a touch bit quicker than everybody else still, with how he's been able to especially enter the corners and then make the time stick. This field's starting to really separate out, Derek, as you would see on a long run and you would expect here on a track like Homestead. And now it's going to get interesting. We are already almost up to that full length of what we had for the stages pretty soon. So we are getting ready to reach uncharted territory for the field strat.
Yeah, we really are. And by the way, you say that, and you talk about people who are really kind of having a hard time, and man, that one car, he is just struggling these past few laps. We were kind of watching from the back of Cody Gibson. That one is just kind of tapping the wall every time, just kind of scrubbing the wall. The car is kind of moving around. I'm not sure for something maybe he can, in a fixed setup league, there's not much you can do to fix that other than just fixing your driving lane. He is just trying, I think, to keep it off the wall and having a hard time. I'm not sure if maybe he's got some damage from those couple of incidents that are messing with that car, but boy, it looks like a long night for the one. But you're right, they're stretching out here. I mean, look at this, between Dalton Kilrow and Cody Gibson, that's second and third. That's only 1 second, by the way. I want to point that out. There's Gibson up front and the bottom. So this track is so fast and so big. It's almost hard to forget, or easy to forget, pardon me, this track is only 1.5 miles because it just, oh, there's a pit stop, by the way. Is that TBB? That's the 10 car. That's earlier than I would have thought. That may not be scheduled. But there's something about this track, guys, and I don't know what it is, if it's the shape of it, if it's just how wide it is as a track. It's, when I race this place, I often don't think of it as 1.5 miles for some reason. It feels bigger than that.
It kind of feels a little bit different because it's not a stereotypical cookie cutter either.
Right.
It's from that era of, they had a lot of track reconfigurations over the years. This track originally was modeled more so after the Brickyard, a smaller version of Indianapolis. More tragedy struck back then they made it more of a traditional oval compared to Atlanta, but much more flatter. Then added the progressive banking eventually for 2003. So it's had a lot of transition over the course of the years, but the window is open. Brian Dees, here's a fuel barometer to keep in mind here, 46.
You know, I want to back up and apologize. I said I thought that top was off schedule. I forgot those guys stayed out at the end of the stage. So for them, it is on schedule. It occurred to me when Brian Dees hit pit road, that became obvious to me why they're pitting.
Let me just bring this up real quick, too, to throw another curveball on what's going on. The battle for the lead is not over right now. Chris Carroll, a couple laps ago, had a huge moment off of turn 2, almost wrecked his car, had to go all the way down to the apron, down the back stretch to save it. Dalton Kilrow has pretty much been glued to the bottom of the racetrack the entire time, whereas the 97, the last about 10 laps, has been running the top, and he's starting to get that right rear tire hot, and it wouldn't surprise me if Kilrow might try to get around the 97 here before pit stops.
Take a look at that right there, able to hold on to it, keep it above the apron at least. And now at this point, Carroll looking to settle on down with the rear, did change his line that time through as Cody Gibson only going 34 laps on the run. changing things up as we're under 70 laps to go.
So this is gonna be this has to be a two-stop strategy. Speaking specifically within this stage is what that's got to be, because 34 laps from now will put him basically 34, 35 to go. So obviously he's elected to divide this into thirds basically and make 2 more stops. So we'll see. The question I have, will that be enough tires? And there's Kilrow as well. Kilrow's now down. So Kilrow, the master of fuel saving, JP, one of the best at it I can think of, is down early.
Big change compared to what we normally would see from 41. But he's right now going to leave Carroll out on the racetrack. We'll see how long Carroll's willing to test it out. Remember, you don't have to use the access road in 3 and 4, but you do have to use it in 1 and 2 here at Homestead. Moresco again hits the wall.
So I watch that pit stop time.
When the 97's in, Lagoons is also coming in. So everybody's coming in pretty early. No one willing to stretch it too far on the tires or fuel windows here. This will equalize everybody on the tire skids at least for your championship 4 competitors.
And I love this move by the 41 of Dalton Kilrow. Normally he likes to stretch out the fuel and not be one of the first guys to pit, but we have like a 1.4 second difference between the fastest lap time and the lap times they were running before the pit stops. And as we've seen, like, the overcut, I don't think is going to be a big factor here tonight. The tire fall off is only 1.4 seconds. It's not a lot. And momentum's huge here. And I think that the 41 being able to pit 1 lap before Carroll here is going to jump him out in front of the lead. Now, the biggest thing for Kilrow to deal with here is going to be the other guys around him and if he can keep his momentum up or not.
Carroll beat him by 2 seconds, though, on pit road. The 97 had a 12-second pit stop. And here's an interesting curveball. 2 tires. How bad does the left side tire usually wear? I guess not a lot if Carroll took 2 here and then took the full fuel load.
So it's funny, Chris Carroll in a way kind of took my point I was going to make away, but I still want to make it as I think it's relevant, which is that, and I know these are the kind of comments that get me the Monday morning DMs from the drivers and everyone, league admin sometimes, but I kind of hate what just happened, guys. Success is not defined by just mimicking what your opponents do. It hurts a little bit for me to see that all 4 guys came down pit road together and basically did their pit stops. If I'm someone in the back of that field, if I'm someone who's not led, maybe in Cody Gibson, if I'm someone like Hunter Lagoon who wants to make a statement, I would have ran this out. I would have seen what I could have done by running the tank dry. Listen, maybe it doesn't work, but sometimes success is defined by throwing a curveball into things and just seeing what can happen. Oh my gosh, there's Gibson, there's Kilrow, both 3 wide, as we're watching Harmon come down pit road. I don't know, guys. I know I'm the naysayer sometimes. Be different than your opponents. That's success sometimes, is being different, and maybe that strategy works out. I would have thought one of the 4 would have done something different.
Well, we are seeing a lot of people stretching the runs, by the way. Moresco and Arthur still yet to pit. Kilrow needs to close up about 2 seconds to get up to the group. Cody Gibson gained a lot of ground with his pit stop call. And Gibson is already trying to find a way around Brian Dees, who, remember, pit earlier than just about everybody else on the racetrack. 7's going to have to find the groove and find the pass as quick as possible to avoid getting held up here in his dirty air.
Well, right now, here's Cody Gibson. He's got Brian Dees ahead, and he's got Dalton Kilrow up ahead. And for Cody Gibson, getting around Brian Dees has to be items number 1, 2, and 3 on your to-do list. And that's how important it's got to be to get around him quickly and not burn up those tires. Here's Mark Arthur down pit road. He'll come down. We saw him have that wild slide earlier, so I'm sure he's happy to put new tires on that car. But up front here again, this is Kilrow, Dees, and Gibson. This is not, of course, your race lead right now because of the Mark Arthur and then Chris Carroll, of course. Arthur's down pit road, so Chris Carroll's going to take the lead back. And guys, that lead is currently about 1.5 seconds, I believe, over Dalton Kilroe. That's how important pit road is.
Keep in mind the lap time difference going to be critical to think about here too. Kilroe on 4 tires, 32.7 last time by. Richard, you noticed this here too. Chris Carroll running 33 flats on the 2 tires. His average the past 5, 0.2 of a second slower. That gap is rapidly closing here, and by the midway point, it's going to be curious where things blend in terms of the times, if they equalize or if Kilroe's going to remain quicker.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kilroe's going to remain quicker for a long time here throughout this run. I mean, Carroll was getting loose pretty late in the run before he came down pit road and took those 2 tires. So how much does that damage his left rear tire, those slides coming off of turn 2, and running the top for all those laps compared to Kilroe? And obviously, you know, Kilroe has those 4 tires. He's pretty much dominated a lot of this race. He seems to be the most comfortable driver out there in the final 4. Seems to have the most control, even though he's not in the lead right now. I would expect that Kilroe will be able to run down Carroll before this is all said and done and be able to take back that lead.
We'll keep an eye on this here as the interval, when we first start talking about it, more so around 1.2 seconds still. Kilroe does get around lap traffic. William Bruden has now fallen a couple laps down in this race. The only driver out of the race, by the way, is Aaron Bockover. Everybody else has remained in this final event here today. But you have to give huge credit to some of the drivers in the top 3. You see Marasco trying to move around the 10 machine. This is to get in the prize pool for the non-championship contenders for the top 3 in that ranking. But Brian Dees has remained very quick here tonight in the 17. He's been quick for a couple races this season as of late, Derek. He is keeping things under control for his speed. He has had an incredible run tonight to try to get himself richer.
He really is having an incredible run tonight, and just see him getting around one of the lap cars there. And Cody Gibson is kind of trying to find a way around and see what he can make happen here. And so far, nothing. Different lanes through 3 and 4 here between the 7 and the 17. And if I'm Cody Gibson, I've got to be just kind of frustrated, like, dude, let me by. Like, I don't, it's not even a negative thought. It's just a thought of, dude, I'm a playoff driver. Like, you're not. It's those thoughts we all have as racers. And from an outside perspective, it sounds mean and it sounds kind of petty and it sounds awful. But that's how we feel sometimes, dude. I'm a playoff driver. Let me by. Do you not see the banner on my windshield? Do you not see the, you know, whatever indication that a league has for those things? And it kind of eats it a little bit. But he eventually did get on by. So here we are now, guys. And it's fair to say we a long time ago passed the halfway point of this race, and it's really for everybody down to one pit stop, one more pit stop. And that pit stop, as you saw earlier, between Chris Carroll and Dalton Kilroe, that final pit stop may be what decides who walks away champion.
We're still inside the estimated window based on some of the other drivers here by about 14, 15 laps. Carroll, the time's starting to equalize a little bit here with compared to Carroll. Carroll's times and Kilroe's times within about a 1/10 of a second the past 5 now per lap. So it has slowed down a bit on that creep up that we were projecting here. All this while, Cody Gibson is not in the ballpark he needs to be in. He's right now running a 1/10 or 2 slower than your top 2 as they run. Look at this though. Can Kilroe get his lead back? He's been competitive with 66 laps led. He's back within 5 car lengths. He has now found that rhythm as it looks like Carroll peeled off another time onion, and he's fallen off an extra 10.
Rich, do you think this is really a difference of 2 tires and 4 tires on these cars? Is it just a difference of Kilroe maybe being faster all night long? What's your perspective on this?
I think it's both. I mean, we can't deny the fact that Kilroe has been absolutely dominant on the long run here tonight. I mean, there's no one's been able to touch him on the long run. But he also has the 4 fresher tires, whereas the 97 only took 2. They're going to look to try to get side by side here. The 97 is going to go defensive and run the top. But if the 41 can't get around the 97 here, I would expect Kilrow to run long compared to the 97. I would assume the 97 is going to have to come down pit road a lap or 2 earlier than Kilrow, take 4 tires, try to jump him on the undercut with the lap time difference. And if Kilrow can get around and pull a gap, Kilrow should be comfortable with having a little bit of a tire advantage and giving up some of a lead.
Here we go. Carroll electing
Earlier-
it to thin high side. Derek, you were going to say Kilroy's looking inside still.
Yeah, earlier Rich mentioned that it's hard to pass on the inside at this track, and I agree with that. And part of, I want to bring up what Rich said as well, is that, mentioned Carroll's making that defensive line up top, and part of that is because when you run that line up top and you guard up top, it kind of hurts the big run that the driver in second place can get, right? If you're side by side, as they were a couple laps ago, when you're Kilrow on the inside, you guard the up top because it hurts Kilrow's run off of this corner if he can't track all the way out. So that's why Carroll's going to play defense up top, I believe, versus the bottom, is it'll kill that run out of the corner a little bit. So now there's Carroll going to the bottom, and there's Kilrow up top. So again, it's Chris Carroll just playing with the lines all night, really being unpredictable. And I like that idea of just running different lanes, just depending upon the lap and I guess what you want to make someone think behind you.
Yeah, I know you like to mention this too, Derek, in other broadcasts. Look at how smooth Kilrow is with his hands on his onboard camera here. He's barely moving that wheel. You don't see him sawing at the wheel, and he's not overdriving the car. He's just biding his time. I think right now he's just riding, and he's just trying to figure out where he wants to place himself before these final pit stops come out, and try to give himself the best opportunity to go out here and win this championship as we wind down to the end of this race.
The other thing to mention too, and Justin, I know you and I talk about this sometimes in the broadcast as well, every driver has a preference in how their stuff is laid out, right? But to me, I watched Dalton Kilrow in that camera. That wheel is almost stomach level. For me, that would be uncomfortable, but apparently it works for him.
And our driver preference thing, maybe, absolutely. A little bit close on the wheel, but it's been fast for him throughout the night. Those 2 cars up front, after all, have pulled up a buffer of more than 2 seconds. Right now, Brian Zimmerman, he's still got the fastest lap of the race, by the way. He's in the midst of some different battles going on. Tanner Marr, Taylor Butcher Benjamin battling behind him. Zimmerman trying to battle with Mark Arthur. So 28's at speed here once again tonight. Zimmerman, competitive all throughout the season. Again, one of the teammates that we've seen race with Five Kings Motorsports to do well. But Cody Gibson finally gets around the 17. Up to third. It's taken him a bit of a while here.
Time, and probably longer. I thought he got around him earlier, so he must have fallen back and fallen back again behind him. But this is a battle Cody Gibson doesn't want. He wants to clear this battle and then get up front and try to catch those 2. But he is pretty far back. He's 2 seconds, I believe, behind Dalton Kilrow at the moment. So he would love to get rid of the 17 somehow and feel like he could run some clean laps. But you brought up a point that I found really interesting, JP, that Brian Zimmerman, he set that fastest lap time a long time ago. The sun has gone down. The track has cooled down. We've gone through pit stops with new tires. I thought someone would have squashed that Brian Zimmerman fastest lap time by now. In fact, I'll be bold. I'll make a prediction. When these last pit stops happen, possibly the next 15 laps or so, actually the track's kind of leveled off. Anyways, I'm going to bet, Rich, in that last pit stop cycle, someone finally beats the Brian Zimmerman lap time.
Most likely, yeah. I mean, everyone's going to fire off more aggressive than they have all night. I mean, I'm not exactly sure how many laps we're going to have left to go after those pit stops. There's still going to be enough to where you're going to have to save tire, but track temp's going to be the coolest. It's going to be all night with new tires unless we have a caution, the dreaded caution word. And it's all going to be take and no give at that point. So definitely going to be interesting to see if someone can come away and take that fast lap time away as we still look on at this battle for the lead between Chris Carroll and Dalton Kilrow.
Yep, still Kilrow losing ground last time by, actually. So that chance of things equalizing out, it looks like that has come into play here. Kilrow trying to bring his MFRD machine up closer and closer here. And the tough thing is here, Kilrow just cannot seem to chip away this gap anymore than the 3/10 yet. We are just a couple laps away from that magic fuel number, keep in mind, to be able to make it to the end on gas. So now it becomes the question here, Derek. Do you risk taking a big undercut or anything along those lines? We've seen how that's worked out for a couple drivers here. The variance for Hunter Lagoons compared to some of his drivers put him down to 8th for reference.
Yeah, it's an interesting question about when you pit here, right? Because you want to pit at the appropriate time. You don't want to get caught out by, a caution happening and having made the call too soon. At the same time, you don't want to maybe wait forever to pit because you want to have appropriate number of laps to use that new tire benefit. So it's really an ultimate question of when do you come down, what do you do? If it were me, if I was Dalton Kilrow and I was maybe stuck in that dirty air of Chris Carroll and having a hard time passing, the pit window's got to be open or open with the next couple of laps. In fact, there's Nicholas Moody coming down, but he may be offside. He's on cycle. I might pit now, guys. I might pit now and just carve my own path and say, I don't want to be in that dirty air anymore. Let me come down, get my new tires, and go race. Because, we've seen instances where it's hard to pass when you get caught in that bubble back there. So I wouldn't be surprised if Dalton Kilrow makes that kind of move.
Let's throw another wrench into the mix. Does anyone that comes down for this final pit stop decide to take 2 tires after seeing what the 97 of Chris Carroll has been able to do?
Yeah, that's a good question. I wondered that earlier too, if maybe Kilrow would play the 2 tire call after seeing it worked out so well.
It's got to be an option. It might be something he risks here as the battle is still on for the 3rd on track. Dees still fighting hard with the 7. Looks like Dees is a little bit quicker despite the older rubber right now from his General Tires. He'll clear on by for 3rd, and Cody Gibson, 1 step forward, 1 step back. We're in the fuel window from here on out and a couple laps away from the evening out pit numbers that we were touching upon earlier. So keep an eye on pit road soon as we are about 30 to 33 laps into most of the field stints.
So, Rich, what do you think is more important for Dalton Kilrow right now? Do you think it's more important that he's searching the track, trying to find a lane, trying to find a way to pass? Or is it more important that he keeps himself in the mirror, up on the bumper of Chris Carroll, and kind of just makes his presence felt?
I think he needs to make Chris Carroll think every time they go into the corner that, hey, I'm here, and if you make a mistake, I'm going to capitalize on it. We see how hard it is to pass. Obviously, Kilrow took the 4 tires, 97 took 2. But if I'm Kilrow, as soon as the pit window can open, I'm going to come down pit road and get my tires and try to pull the gap on the 97 because there's no way that that Carroll can take 2 tires again. I mean, I just don't see how that could work. It worked for him the first time. The gap stabilized at just the right time for him to pull that move off. But, Dalton knows now that he's going to have the strategy hand here. And when does he want to make that move?
I got excited for a second as I saw it. And then again, Carroll now 2 corners in a row has scrubbed that wall, and you can see the smoke popping up, and that can scrub some speed off. That can help you give away your lead if you're not careful, if you're Chris Carroll. And at least that time by, he seems to be okay. And yeah, there's a lot at play here, guys. There's a lot of games left to be played, a lot of calls to be made. Are you brave enough to take 2 tires on potentially the final pit stop? Or do you feel that confident after watching Chris Carroll do it? Those are all good questions. There's William Bruton down pit road, by the way.
Oh, hold on.
And here's Carroll again trying it.
Once again, going for the lead. Carroll trying the poke, coming to 34 laps to go. trying to get the run on the side-by-side. Larry Bellamy seen already coming in. None of the other leaders coming in yet except for Cody Gibson. Gibson has pit, the 7 is in.
Guys, when I watch Dalton Kilrow trying to make these passes here, what comes to my mind is as long as Chris Carroll's gonna block that top lane, Kilrow's gonna have to be comfortable maybe, I think, making just a small bit of contact with the side of Chris Carroll if he's gonna complete that pass.
I would agree with you, but I don't think we're at that point of the race yet where Kilrow's going to feel like he needs to get that desperate. We still have that pit stop to go. Now, after this pit stop, let's say they're racing like this again in similar circumstances, then yeah, I absolutely can see where a driver might have to feel like they need to make that move to go out there and win the championship. And honestly, that's hard racing. As long as you don't wreck the guy, I don't personally see problems with that. Other people might feel different, but I think that if Kilrow can get close to the 97 again and get him on the outside through 3 and 4, I think Kilrow needs to come down pit road, have the 97 be slow with momentum from getting side drafted by him, and try to capitalize on a pit jump here.
All right, buddy. Pit window's definitely open. We're down now to 32 laps to go. We know we can make it from here on gas. We've been out for a while. If you're Dalton Kilrow, what do you do here? Do you wait for Carroll to pit and follow him? Do you stay out longer? Do you want to go shorter? What's the goal here, do you think?
I want to pit. I want to pit before him and get that clean air and get that track position and the tire advantage because, like I said, it's like about a 1.4 second advantage with fresh tires right now. And as we can see, I mean, the 97 took 2 tires and Kilrow's having a heck of a time trying to get around him. The 97 is doing an amazing job. Let's not knock down the credit that the 97 is doing running that defensive line again as we see it running the top of 1 and 2, having the run down the backstretch. And as long as he can hold that outside, it's going to be very challenging for Kilrow to try to make a move to the bottom.
Speaking of which, Carroll covers it off. Does Kilrow come in? No, he does not. Still stretches it out. Still have a couple laps of flexibility. Brian D's already pit last time by. Zimmerman, Hunter Lagoons, hearing missed his stall. So Lagoons had to back up. The 27's championship hopes have slipped away unless there's a caution. Oh, wow. Here's a look at the replay. Black flag, Brian Zimmerman, pit exit. Chris Carroll just indicated on the radio he wants to pit. Will Kilrow respond with him? He will. It's side by side for a moment. They enter the cones, and Carroll slides. He slides around. He bubbles and saves it. Kilrow holds on as well.
Wow.
I'm looking, guys, and I don't see a speeding penalty. How do you lose it on pit road and not speed? Apparently you can, and Chris Carroll just did it. There's no black flag that I can see for Chris Carroll.
So here's the interesting thing that we need to look at now. With Kilrow and Carroll coming down pit road together, the 7 of Cody Gibson came down pit road quite a few laps before both of these guys.
Hold on.
And he's been knocking down these lap times, and I'm wondering how...
Oh, wow. Is that going to work with that old left side tires? We talk about the tire wear difference. It's going to be massive now. Carroll just about wrecked his chances for a championship with that hook to the left.
Do you think he got nervous, Rich, about how close Dalton Kilrow was to the back end and maybe he just stabbed the brakes too hard? I'm not blaming Kilrow, don't get me wrong, but I just wonder if Carroll got freaked out or spooked by Kilrow's presence.
I would say there's a good chance that happened once he seen Kilrow was coming down pit road with him and trying to get around him on the outside, mind you. I feel like the 97 had a bit of a moment and was like, oh, I need to drive it a little bit deeper into pit road, and he's very lucky to get away with no pit road penalty there.
And the weird thought, Justin, is that Kilrow sort of backed up a little bit on pit road. He sort of slowed it down to pit road so that he didn't make contact with Carroll. So I'm not saying Carroll didn't lose anything on pit road, but in comparison, it wasn't as bad of a loss of time as it could be. Now, of course, the 2 tires and the versus 4 tires helps that call, but typically when a driver spins out on pit road, they lose lots of time to their competitor. That didn't happen here.
That was such a nerve-wracking moment for the championship, but look at the time difference. This is not to Kilrow. Kilrow 4 seconds back with this pit sequence. Carroll's got the advantage. Brian Dees the highest running of the non-championship runners. Cody Gibson actually picked up a fair bit of time with his 5-lap split on the strategy, though. His 7 machine keeping up with the 17. Only 25 laps to go for the championship.
Boy, and the challenge for Kilrow may not just be the time, JP. It might be the fact that there's 2 cars in the way, and Cody Gibson and Brian Dees, who both are on the same pit cycle. So it's not like they're going to pit and get out of the way here. So for Kilrow, it might more so be that. Now the question becomes, are 4 tires better than 2? And the question in my mind, Rich, is not just 4 tires versus 2. It's 2 tires twice. That's what's in my head. Never would have convinced me Chris Carroll would have done it twice.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you are. That absolutely blows my mind. I am very curious to see if Chris Carroll can pull this off. Taking 2 tires back to back is absolutely absurd to me, but yeah, I mean, it put him in a really good spot. And like you said, I mean, Kilrow has to get through Cody Gibson and Brian Dees, and not to mention Cody Gibson's a playoff guy, so Gibson's not going to just let Kilrow go. And like, no, even though Kilrow has a lap time advantage on both of them, he's not going to make it easy on him, and that's going to hurt Kilrow's tires and take a long time for him to get around them if he can, to then try to go run down the 97.
This is going to be interesting how things close out at the very end for this championship now. Gibson trying to knock down time, running 32.8. Dees is the quickest car on the racetrack, actually, amongst your top 3 at least. Kilrow and Perkins running in the 7s as well, like the 17 is on circuit. So right now, Chris Carroll, let's talk about the season for him. Once again, he came into tonight with 17 top 5s, 21 top 10s with the 6 victories. He's been the most consistent when he's made starts. He did that number in 27 starts with 2 provisionals as well to his tallies in 2025. In our words, when he's been quick, he's normally been up in the front and has been able to keep it out of trouble. Compared to Dalton Kilrow, near identical in incident points, but has been able to get a lot of solid runs. Kilrow, though, near identical outside of 4 more top 10. So it's been both of them so stellar on their seasons consistency-wise. We talked about how it could go a lot of different ways tonight. Chris Carroll looking to try and get win number 7 to match Kilrow to end the season. But he's got to hold off the 17 for it.
Well, boy, if you're Chris Carroll right now, these 21 laps cannot run fast enough, right? Time is relative in a race car, I believe, to the position you are on the track. If you are Chris Carroll in the 97 and you're about to possibly get passed by Brian Dees, by the way, in the 17, these laps cannot go by fast enough. These 20 laps are going to seem like another hour on the racetrack. If you're Cody Gibson, if you're Dalton Kilrow, who needs to make some moves as the 17 gets up under Carroll. Oh, hold on, I'll come back to that in a second. This made me nervous with how Dees dug it in there. For Gibson or for Kilrow, this time is going by way too fast. But Rich, I'm going to come back to you for a second and maybe touch on both of you separately, JP. As a driver, if I were Chris Carroll, I would be upset right now. Like, Brian Dees, with all due respect, you're not a playoff driver. I hate that sounds so egotistical as it does. But if I'm Chris Carroll, I'm upset that a non-playoff driver just dug to my inside at Homestead with 20 laps to go as I'm trying to win a title.
Hey, you know, you can be upset all you want, but at the end of the day, everyone that's on this racetrack right now is trying to go for that win.
I agree.
And you know, here's the thing: the 97 doesn't need to win this race right now. He's still in front of Cody Gibson, and Gibson's still in front of Kilrow. Gibson has a 5-lap tire disadvantage to the 97's right side tires and to the Dalton Kilrow's 4 tires. So here's the bigger question right now. The 97 following the 17 and pretty much running in his tire tracks right now. How does that affect his 2 tires compared to the last stint that he had his 2 tires? And does that give Kilrow more of an advantage trying to get around Carroll here as we get into the closing stages of this race?
Yeah, JP, that's fun to track about what's going to happen here as Carroll's starting to fall back from the 17, and Kilroe is gaining on these guys. Remember how far back Kilroe was at one point, JP? Here he is now up on the back end of Cody Gibson.
I was going to say, with this, remember, it's about, for the championship, who's the highest running. For the non-championship drivers, the highest out of the top 3 on the non-championship runners to be able to get in their prize pool for tonight's race. Kilroe trying to make himself up another spot, looking for the second position. Kilroe slides, clears close. Bit of a push from the 7 as they'll make their way on through. $20 difference for that spot of the championship, and Gibson knows it. He's trying it again. And here comes Kilroe on the squeeze.
And here comes the big grin for your leader, Chris Carroll, because every time those guys fight like that, JP, Carroll's going to pull a little bit further away from these two. Kilroe now made the pass and I think is good. And by the way, I want to say, maybe in commentary and in iRacing in general, that old slide job meme has got to be the most overused thing we use in iRacing. But that pass, if we could go back, the one that passed that Kilroe made it on Gibson right there, that I believe to be textbook definition of slide job.
Exactly right. And that's something, if you're Dalton Kilroe, that you had to do. You had to be aggressive getting around Cody Gibson if you wanted a chance to go chase down the 97 of Chris Carroll. You know, if you stay behind him for even a lap and a half, you're going to lose 3/10, which he did lose 2.5 tenths on lap time to Chris Carroll, as we're looking at a replay again. And you're going to see him start to open up that wheel and just barely slide up in front of the 7. And the 7's now pushing him down the straightaway, but the 7 did chase him into turn 1, cost Kilroe a little bit more lap time. But now Kilroe has his eyes set forward, chasing down Carroll.
JP, if we were going to make a commentator's dictionary and put the word slide job in there, we might as well attach that video, because I think that was that's the definition.
Indeed, now the pressure is definitely on for Kilroe to close now. He needs to close a 2.5 in 13 laps to have a chance to be a champion. And right now, that's easier said than done. He gained about a 10th this time, down the straightaway at least. 10.5 over the course of the lap. Carroll preferring to run the outside here, keep clean air on the nose as he continues to try and hold on. Dees, mind you, a teammate to Kilroe. And right now, that's 17. Highest running of the non-championship runners still, but the pressure's got to be on if you are Kilroe to keep this going. Kilroe's not closing quick enough to have a chance unless it's the last lap here, Derek. He's got to close much quicker than this.
And that number's decreasing, and we're getting just that 1 second range. And I want to point that out, because although we don't use the word draft, very common outside of, the super speedways, Kilroe's now starting to get to that range now where he's going to pull a bit of a draft down these straightaways. And these are long straights here at Homestead. You can pull a small bit of draft off of Chris Carroll. So I think that gap's going to close a little bit faster now that he's within that range, and he's starting to kind of suck up some of that air and get tugged along. And Chris Carroll smoking the wall like that is not going to help his chances here, guys. He's up on the wall again.
Absolutely crazy race that's unfolding here right now. Dalton Kilroe, he's seeing the 97 start to make these little mistakes, and it's his tires that are finally starting to give out on the left sides. But if I'm Dalton Kilroe, I got to get up on that pedal even harder. I got to get more aggressive. I got to get faster every lap, because we all seen before this last round of pit stops how hard it was, even though Kilroe had a lap time advantage and a tire advantage for so long on the 97, how hard it was for him to even get a move on him. And the 97 instantly going defensive again. And here we go again, looking right back to what we had before the pit stops.
Less than 10 laps to go. Kilroe is closing up. Will he have an opportunity here to go for this lead for the championship? He's trying to chip it away. 9 laps to go. Carroll outside. Kilroe takes it to the middle this time. Carroll pushed tight. Up the track goes the 97. Kilroe keeps it equal. Coming out of the corner. Carroll clears once again for the back straightaway.
Rich, remember about 30 laps ago when we had to talk about would Kilroe feel comfortable maybe using the bumper to win a title? I think that question is a little bit more relevant now because here comes Kilroe trying to dig the corners. And with that defensive line Carroll's running, Kilroe may have to get a bit aggressive here. I'm not sure how it's going to play out with the tires.
I would expect him to send it into turn 1 right here and try another slide job. He gets clear of the 97, about 1 car length right there. No competition up against the 97. There's those 4 fresh tires with cleaner air taking advantage right there. Now Kilroe's back in command of this race.
Took a while to activate, but now the 4 tires are thriving. Dalton Kilroe, the 7-time winner this season, now up to the championship lead with 7 laps to go at the stripe. Right now, his teammate well in command for the race itself, but Kilroe seems in command for the championship to be able to become a Blazing Pedals champion. He needs to keep it green, though. He needs it to stay green with 6.5 laps to go.
It's so wild in my head, guys, that we're at this moment where Kilroe is now up by almost a second, I believe, or something by almost half a second, over Carroll, because 5 laps ago we thought this maybe it seemed insurmountable for Dalton Kilroe, just how fast the tides turn just from one to the other here. And Carroll's still trying to ride the outside, still trying to maybe get those runs off the corner, build that speed. But Dalton Kilroe is starting to pull away here, and he can start now to have that feeling. You can have a feeling. Rich and I talked earlier today about what would it feel like to win, coming to the PSR race on Wednesday night. Well, right now, Dalton Kilroe, I think those butterflies are forming. The emotions maybe are getting there, the jitterness, the nerves. Everything's probably setting in with 5 to go.
Yeah, but as a driver, you have to caution yourself with getting those jitters because, as we all know, a caution can happen at any time. The dreaded caution at the end of these long runs, multiple pit stops going on in this long green flag run here. If we had a caution come out now, it would absolutely blow this race up and change absolutely everything. So right now, Kilroe needs to just keep focused, hit his marks, run every lap, focus on the next corner, not what's going to happen in 4 laps from now, and just hope that when the checker flag falls, he still is in the lead of the championship 4.
Guys, if a caution came out right now, Hunter Lagoon would be the happiest man on earth.
Especially since Lagoon's bike now is 11th on track, 4th for the championship. Still would net him some money, but obviously was hoping for a lot more tonight when trying to roll the dice on the tire strategy to set up for stage 3 in the first place. But right now, 3 to go for the championship. D's continuing to dominate, but it's Kilroe now with a lead of 1.3 seconds over Carroll. By the way, the R drivers as they run who've stayed in the top 3 for that non-championship prize pool. Still Perkins, still Marasco by sizable gaps. John Perkins actually took 3rd on the track, coming to 2 to go this time.
Yeah, he passed around Chris Carroll, and that's got to be defeating for Chris Carroll. Not any way as a negative to John Perkins, but you went from being the proverbial playoff winner to now being passed twice in the past 5 or 6 laps, and those left side tires have got to be done. There's nothing you can do about it right now besides ride and wait for another maybe 2 miles until this race is over.
Brian D's having the performance of his season tonight. 6 top 5s, 10 top 10s coming into this evening as 21 starts. This, by far, his best performance. White flag is out. Final time around for the season for Blazing Pedals. All that as well. It's going to be a good night if you're a driver from MFRD. You have one driver on the way to their first win of the year and another driver on the way to a championship. Dalton Kilroe all season was strong, was stellar, was hard to beat. The season leader in victories. Coming out of the final corner, it's Brian Dees who will take the race win, but it's Dalton Kilroe who will get a Blazing Pedals ARCA Series championship.
You see the fist bump, you can see the communication in the voice chat, you see the moment of just relief, that little bit of sigh. And now, as Rich said, you got to be careful of celebrating too soon, Now you can celebrate.
Yeah, what a fantastic race we got to see here tonight. Multiple differences in tire strategy. When you want to come down pit road, do you want to take 2 tires, 4 tires, and wow, what a fantastic race we just all got to see.
A great effort from the 41. It looked to be Carroll for much of the way with the 2-tire strap, but as we were talking about, so much can change in the final stretch of these races. We've seen it tonight as the team gets to celebrate together. It's MFRD, it's Dalton Kilroe, it's Brian Dees, who all celebrate together as one tonight.
Wow. Tell you guys, this is Kilroe's 4th Blazing Pedals Championship, and I bet it feels just as great as the first one.
Adds to a legacy he's built here, especially on Sunday nights in the ARCA Series. Let's take a look at the unofficial race results. 175 laps. It was definitely one to remember, the race of the year, you can argue. Brian Dees with a win, 2.4 seconds over Kilroe. Kilroe gets the championship. John Perkins gets third on track. Carroll and Gibson, the top 5. 3 of the top 5 championship 4 competitors. Tom Rasco finished in 6th with Mark Arthur in 7th. Harmon, Marr, Butcher Benjamin, your top 10, Derek.
Going back into P11, and that's where you'll find Hunter Lagoon, the last of the 4 playoff drivers. He's in front of Larry and Bell. Those are the last cars in the lead lap. Then you got Nicholas Moody 1 lap down, and then 2 or more laps down. Brian Zimmerman, William Bruton, Mike Massengill, and Aaron Backover round out a 17-car field.
So we talked about with the runner here tonight, still waiting for the drivers to make their way on down and start their celebrations. I'll get your thoughts here on this one. What an evening, Richard, to say the very least. It came down to the 4 tires in the end for Kilroe, and that team is going to be happy. A team 1-2 to end it off.
Yeah, they definitely have to be very ecstatic with how that team performed tonight. Let's not take away any credit from Brian Dees taking home his first victory of the season. He did an excellent job all night long. Flipped the strategy late in that 3rd stage to get the track position he needed and the tire advantage that he needed. And then, Dalton Kilroe dominated stage 1. Stage 2 was kind of just riding around, and then stage 3 he was pretty much, he wasn't in control the entire time really in stage 3, and he was able to pull off the move with those 4 tires and be your champion of the season.
Speaking of which, we'll talk to your champion first here tonight. Dalton Kilroe is your champion for Blazing Pedals in its ARCA Series. Dalton, how does it feel to come away with this championship here tonight? It took a lot of effort, but in the end, you end up leading 66 laps. You end up getting 2nd, but it's a team 1-2 as you get the title.
Yeah, I couldn't have cared any less about winning the race. I just wanted to win that championship so bad. Definitely had to earn that one. Chris didn't make it easy, and I appreciate it. Left it down to the wire. I think my engine just blew up as I'm sitting at the start-finish line. Yeah, I'm hearing the confirmation. Yeah, it did just blow up. But no, he made me earn it all night. The 2-tire strategy was working good. I think he just... I don't know if he took 2 sets of rights or did like a set of rights then a set of lefts in case there was a late yellow or something. But I think he just... When I got to him, I just don't think he had the grip to be able to do what he was doing the run prior and just keep me in his dirty air to burn my stuff up. But I'm just... Whew, that's a way to get one right there.
And it nearly led to disaster, too, with that pit road entry when you and Chris Carroll entered. You both nearly wrecked it. What was kind of going through your mind as the chaos reigned on the entry?
I was just like, stop, hoping we didn't get a speeding penalty, which thankfully that didn't end up happening, and was still able to get around him even though we pit on the same lap, so... Oh god, that was probably the most stressful 30 laps I've driven in a while.
And See, there's a lot of TVs around you here tonight as well. Talk about, real quickly, that setup with all of that to take on this action in the VR headset. How was it in terms of the focus in the VR, especially with all the other screens that you normally have if you weren't in the VR?
Yeah, it's a lot easier to stay focused in VR, in my opinion. Plus, with using your using your actual depth perception rather than just staring at a screen. Even though obviously VR is still a screen, it's just so close to your face that your brain's like, oh, the car is actually this many feet away. It's easier to kind of just tell where the wall is, where another car is, all of that. And for me, ever since I switched to VR 5 or so years ago, I just gained a level of consistency that I wouldn't be able to do on monitor. So being in this headset's good, and I wouldn't trade it for anything else.
Anyone you want to give a shout out to here tonight?
I gotta thank, first off, I gotta thank MFRD. We gave him a shot on the drivers, none of the drivers, on the team championship, but I believe that 2 dudes ended up walking away with it. It is confirmed, yeah, 2 dudes walked away with it, so congrats to 2 dudes on the team championship. I gotta thank everybody in the Final Four for, coming out and putting on a good race. I know we all were going as best we could, and, definitely made for some exciting moments, as it was at least exciting for me. I hope it was exciting for you guys and everybody at home. I gotta thank Ohio and Indiana Roofing, all the league sponsors, all the admins here at BPL, everybody that was still showing up even with the lower car counts towards the end of the season. Hopefully we can do something to change that start of next season. Not sure exactly when that's going to be. In my mind, we're going to take rest of 25 off and come back in 2026 and start with probably some fresh ideas, maybe change it up a little bit. And I don't know if I said it, but thanks to you guys as well for doing the broadcast for us, helping us out in a pinch with what we started the season with. It's been a season. It's been a season. I think everybody's just kind of glad it's winding down here.
Again, congratulations on the championship here, Dalton. Congrats on the title for 2025.
Thank you.
Dalton Kilrow, your 2025 Blazing Pedals ARCA Series champion. Race winner tonight for the first time this season went to the 17, a teammate to Dalton Kilrow, Brian Dees, was able to find some gaps already and pick himself up a victory. He's with Derek.
Well, Brian, what a run tonight, and what a race win tonight. You powered your way around Chris Carroll there in the last run up to the pit stops, and you just kind of pulled away. How did that feel?
Oh, pretty damn good. That doesn't happen too often with this car. It's usually pretty draft heavy, so that's what I was expecting tonight, but felt pretty good all race. Felt like I was able to keep the tires on it. Knew I had something at the end, so yeah, definitely felt great. I don't know what Carroll did. I don't know if he took 2 tires the last 2 stops, or took
That's
rights
exactly
and then
correct.
took lefts, or
yeah, he took 2 tires twice for sure, so can tell you that.
yeah. So when I saw that, I kind of thought I'd probably have the pace on him. And then I was just a little worried about Dalton. He'll sneak up on you every now and then. So, but I was hoping he would get Carroll and then maybe just leave me alone.
Well, you get the honor, for at least for a couple months, of saying you are the defending race champion for Blazing Pedals. No one's going to be able to take that from you, probably at least until sometime in 2026. Does it feel a little extra better to win the last race?
It for sure does. I was actually just talking in the waiting room with Perkins. This car has not been my friend. Ran it in a different league as well, and never liked it. Just could never figure it out. So definitely feels great to send it off, but send it off in a good way with a win. So well, definitely love that.
I think it's a great night to celebrate. You get the win. Your teammate gets the championship. You guys finish 1-2. There's really not much more you can ask for tonight.
Absolutely. I think we'll be popping some champagne back at the MFRD pits.
Fair enough. Well, listen, anyone you want to give a shout out to or say thank you to?
Yeah, I gotta thank Ohio and Indiana Roofing. Gotta thank you guys up in the booth. Gotta thank team sponsor Michael Falk, MFRD, MF Racing Designs. Pretty much everybody that has anything to do, all the admins and everything as well. You know, it takes a lot of work to have a season like this, and you know, try to recruit drivers, get people to come out and race, and you know, to have a long season like this, it's definitely a lot of hard work, and it's definitely appreciated.
Well, we appreciate getting to watch you race as well, Brian. Congrats on the win, and we'll talk to you next year.
Sounds great.
All right, that is Brian Dees. He came home the winner of tonight's race. Then we'll catch up with John Perkins, who finished P3 tonight. Had a great surge at the end of this race, John. You were able to get past a couple cars late and come home P3 overall. How was this race for you?
Yes, sir. Thank you. For some reason tonight I just had really good long run speed. I don't know if I was just taking care of the tires better or what, but I'll take it. One of these days I'm going to figure out how to be more aggressive on these pit stops. I lose way too much time on and off pit road, and it's costing me. I'm never going to get a win.
Well, tonight in that Loves machine, you did well. You scored in the money tonight for the non-championship drivers for the prizes that were announced pre-race, so that's got to feel good.
Oh, awesome.
And,
yes, sir.
Yeah, doing a great run here tonight. Do you think had this race gone on another 5 laps, another 10 laps, do you think you had anything for the 2 up front?
I think I probably could have got past Dalton, but I think Brian might have been too far out. You know, and again, it's all because I'm just too conservative getting on and off pit road. I've got to figure that out.
All right, well, I do have confirmation as well. You may know already, but we're getting confirmation now. You and your teammate have won the team championship for Blazing Pedals, so you do get to walk away with a title in 2025.
There you go. That's awesome. Well, I appreciate that. Thank y'all very much.
There you go. So, all right. Well, listen, it's a pleasure watching your race every week in the 33. And anyone you want to say hello to or give a shout out to?
Well, first off, I'd like to thank my family again, you know, for giving me the time to be able to do this on Sunday nights. Also, my teammate, Mark, that was a good season. Came out champions. I appreciate that. And I'd kind of like for everybody to remember, give a shout out to Skittles. She passed away a couple of years ago, but she was this league's biggest fan. You might see a lot of them still carry decals on their cars, so shout out in remembrance to her. And then obviously you guys for broadcasting this every week. Y'all are one of the better ones that I've seen across YouTube, so congratulations on that. And then I think our league sponsorship, Ohio and Indiana Roofing, for putting up the money for the league, and then Blackhawk Motorsports, and I do appreciate it.
Buddy, once again, a pleasure watching you race. Congrats on the podium, and we'll see you in 2026.
Yes, sir. I hope y'all are back. I really enjoy y'all's broadcast.
Well, thank you. We appreciate you as well. That is John Perkins. He finishes P3 tonight, JP, and that wraps up our podium interviews.
What a night for a championship. What a night for a race, to say the very least. I'd like to thank everyone for taking part in our post-race coverage here on Green Flag TV. Lots of upcoming races on the schedule, by the way. High Tide is tomorrow night. They visit Charlotte. That's a 9 p.m. start. You also have Mars. We're going to Mars as we go to Phoenix as well on Tuesday. PSR, remember that championship is going to take place Wednesday from Auto Club Speedway. That's going to be at 8:30 p.m. start time. The Beer League will take place at 9:20 that night. ZTRL is at Indy for the Friday for a 7:55 start. Be sure to tune in Indianapolis NASCAR layout for that circuit. FDR's back in action this weekend. That will be on Saturday. Endurance Racing from Sebring here on Green Flag TV. And don't forget that same Saturday, it's going to be Velocity underway again. VOR for their season finales coming up. It'll be at Phoenix. That will be at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. So on that note here, Derek, your final wishes and goodbyes before we say goodbye here tonight.
Well, I think a couple of the drivers hinted, JP, we came in and had the privilege of taking over the broadcast. Right on week 8 or week 9, I think, for Blazing Pedals, and it's been an amazing season, a long run. But to get this crown a champion at an iconic place like Homestead, this is the chef's kiss right here, buddy. This was a great night. Richard, thank you for being here. I know you got hooked. You were going to only stay through stage 2, and you got so excited. You haven't gone to bed yet.
Yeah, I mean, as a driver that's nerdy, all the strategy, the different tire strategy, 2 tires, 4 tires, that all got me very excited, and I'm just glad that I was able to help you guys out and be able to help call a fantastic race that we all got to watch tonight.
Well, JP, we get to wrap up another season together. It's always fun racing or broadcasting with you. I appreciate you, and I'll let you close out the show.
Yes, indeed. It's time to say goodbye for tonight's coverage. I'd like to thank everyone who was a part of the season's coverage from start to finish. A busy season when it came to be here on Green Flag TV. I'd like to thank Ohio and Indiana Roofing for their support as well of Blazing Pedals. But it's time to say goodbye. For our producer and Dustin Ellis, for our commentators, Richard Regan Jr. and Derek Watson, I'm Justin Prince saying so long. Enjoy the rest of your evening. You've been watching Blazing Pedals. It's ARCA Series from Homestead. Good night from Florida.